What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch in the Roo, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, inspiring people to be better, look better, love better, feel better every damn day of their lives. And our Saturday morning show, presented by our friends at the Firekeepers Casino and Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Play the games along with us. I've been donating some money to Firekeepers unintentionally lately. I'm planning to turn that around. That is my plan. Just great selection of games, very user-friendly, good bonuses, daily odds boosts. They call them blazing boosts. Really good stuff. Download the Firekeepers iCasino Sportsbook app today. Jason, how you doing, man?
Free Ubers.
What's going on, buddy?
I'm good.
Yeah, you good? I'm good. Stayed up too late last night watching the Tigers. By the way, Apple TV, bravo, because they just got a new iPhone, so I had 3-month trial. I'm like, where's the Tigers game at? Apple TV, at least they're trying to do something, unlike Bally's. You know what I mean?
What do you mean they're trying to do something?
They had Katie Nolan in the booth. They're trying to entertain people. They were telling good stories and stuff, and they had a reporter down there in the field actually interviewing the managers. It just was a better product than the boring-ass Bally's, and it was nice to see. And I'm bummed that we have to go back to Bally's now. Can we have every game on Apple TV?
Well, a lot of people don't get to see them that way. Here's my issue with the Apple TV thing, and it's my issue with the YouTube thing they do, and all when they do these weird little sideshow things. When you sign up for Bally's, or when you pay for cable so you get Bally's, you're thinking you get the Tigers games all year, and you settle in on a Friday night to watch a game.
Oh, fucking wah. Just download an app. It's 2022. I don't want to hear about anyone that can't get to a game or something like that. Call Graham. He'll help you. What are you talking about? I'd rather do that than have... And by the way, Apple TV, after the free 3 months, is like $4.99 a month. So don't give me this shit about... I mean, would you rather pay Bally's $19.99 a month? That's where they should. Bally's should have started at $4.99.
I'm just saying, but you get one. I mean, look, I have Apple TV. I like Apple TV. There's lots of stuff on Apple TV I like. I'm just saying, you get one game out of Apple TV.
Yeah,
and
then you don't get to watch a game on a Friday night.
Well,
unbelievable. You know, yeah. Sorry. Go down to the local pub. Go down to the Midnight Tavern.
Pick your lane, MLB, and stay with it. That's all I'm saying, and that's what the MLB should do. And
the whole point of that was Apple. Please buy Bally's and let's get this shit going.
I'm not saying Bally's shouldn't improve their own broadcast. I'm just saying that. Yeah,
I'm just saying with Katie Nolan, like it's just kind of fun, like a change of pace, and you can have a little bit of fun because baseball. There's so many lulls like in baseball that try to come up and create something. Listen, like I said, there's no way I could do it. It's impossible to kind of have the stories and. You know, if they throw down to you like Johnny Kane has to do,
you would have incredible stories. I mean, you would get kicked off the air because of your stuff.
You can't have fun anymore, and that's the other problem too. Is when you get these former athletes that are really scared to tell any of the good stories, the good old days stories now, because of guys like Jack Morris who have to apologize for being an idiot for a second. But that's what we looked forward to when we were younger. The Harry Careys, the Hawk Harrelsons. Right? The Skip Carries, those guys that were those classic voices. That's all we're looking for. Have a little bit of fun in the booth, but I had fun watching the game on Apple TV.
And, you know, what I'm amazed that guys are unable to do when they're doing these stories in the booth is they're unable to say sometimes, like, I understand that this was 40 years ago and I was an
Don't preface
idiot.
it. Yeah.
You know,
I hate that we have to preface that.
Well,
of course, it was different times back then. I'm not saying you have to get nitty gritty and get down to some stories you can't tell on air, and that's the great part. But if you paint these guys into a corner where they're scared to tell any story, it's like,
All right, before we dig into your Groovy Donut Twitter questions.
Wait, did we start the show already?
Yeah, we're on. Well, this is not just us. Okay. Before we dig into your Groovy Donut Twitter questions, there's some awesome ones on MSU, on Moneyball, on the new big men at Michigan State, on the Pistons draft, quite a bit
you
of
were
stuff.
at Moneyball, wall-to-wall coverage from Graham Couch.
Absolutely.
In the bleachers.
And before we get into all that, though, speaking of the Tigers, as we begin every end-of-week show with what we're betting presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. I'm on the Tigers right now, and I'm sort of doing this series by series. I've got a vibe with them, and it's based on value. Number one, when they're playing a good team like the Red Sox, you just hammer the and I'm not even saying the Red Sox are a great team, but a team with a lineup that can be a problem for the Tigers. You hammer that team. You absolutely do. However, when they go play the Diamondbacks, the value is on the Tigers. Like the Saturday game tonight, Alex Faedo is plus. The Tigers are plus 125 on the money line.
Yeah,
that's a 50-50 game. There's no. You take the value. You don't take. To me, there is value in the Tigers when they're playing shitty opponents right now because they've been so bad for so long that Vegas is certainly swinging that way. And so while they're playing,
and it helps that Javi Baez is hitting finally.
Yes, or hit the homer last night.
Grand slammy.
And then they go to the Giants, and I think you.
Hammer the Giants.
Yeah, you reassess, right? You go to the Giants
right before 4th of July weekend. Oh, come on,
totally. Then they go to then they have the Royals at home. You're playing the Tigers. It's really about it's opponent driven. But I think right now there is when they're playing an equally bad opponent, the value is on the Tigers, and so just be prevalent. Are you betting anything this weekend?
Of course, NHL playoff hockey, my friend. What a great series this has finally turned into. I don't know what I'm going to bet tomorrow night, but since it might be the only sport that's left and only baseball will remain for, a month, 2 months for us, so I'm going to cherish this game tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. There's not much value currently, so maybe hopefully by tomorrow. I mean, the Tampa Bay Lightning plus 1.5 is minus 275. That's a Harry Gagnon special when he's got on a 4-game losing streak. Just take the minus 275 and the plus one. Pay the juice, I'm promising you. I don't know. Maybe the Avalanche finally kick into gear. Minus 1.5 at plus 220. Maybe there's some value in that. So I'm going to figure it out. But definitely, if it's the last NHL game tomorrow night, I want to have some action on it. Yeah, I think there's value still in the series price on Tampa Bay on the Firekeepers iCasino Sportsbook app because what's it at? You know,
I just had this up 1 second.
Oh, hold on, I got you covered.
Yeah. Sorry.
Wait. On a Saturday morning, baby. Come on. Turn it up.
I know. I should be better than that. It's plus 300. Plus 300. So there was even more value than that.
Plus 300 for Tampa Bay to win the series.
Yeah, and there was more value than that even before this. I think that's
low.
I don't know. I would,
to win 2 games, I don't know. To beat that Colorado team 3 straight times at plus 300. Some of these books, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you that, but they don't want to get taken. But there was there was real value when it was 3-1, and I didn't jump on it. I got chicken. By the way,
okay, real quick, not jumping on stuff. The NBA draft. I know we're going to get into it with the Twitter questions, but that's the Thursday morning when it was kind of the books were taking it off the board.
Yeah, when
they thought Paolo was going to be the number 1, he was minus 250. Jabari Smith. Did you get in on any of that action?
So I
didn't act quick enough.
The only thing I had was a standing bet from a while ago on Keegan Murray as the 5th pick, which obviously didn't pay, and it was played about even money. And I'm happy that I lost that bet, but no, I didn't get in on any of it.
Shouldn't have. Sacramento helped you out there.
It was a weird week for me. I was in Canada for a few days. That's why we didn't do a midweek show at the Stratford Shakespeare and Festival. It's not just Shakespeare; it's plays and other things. It's a really cool time, by the way. If you ever looking to do something, get away for a few days. It's only about 3.5 hours.
On that one.
And my sister and I take my mom every year. Anyway, but a couple things were difficult. One, my gambling apps didn't work. Couldn't log on to the Firekeepers iCasino Sportsbook app because I'm in Canada, which sucks.
Yeah,
get with that, Canada. But the one thing that was cool, my sister and I go out to a bar one night. And it's game 5. And right around midnight, the kitchen staff gets off. And we're on this patio, and everybody comes out. And you're watching hockey in Canada, and the whole kitchen staff's just standing around. Everybody's into the game. Watching hockey in Canada is a different type of deal. Like everybody there, these aren't Canadian teams. They all know the players. They all know the situation. It's just a different level of intelligence over the sport. They all play in rec leagues that are going like.
It's like Mexico and soccer. If you go to a Mexican restaurant during the World Cup, you're screwed. You'll never see anybody.
What do you mean by you're screwed?
You won't if you're trying to go get something to eat at their restaurant. You're never going to get your food.
Oh, I see.
Because they're all watching the World Cup.
I see. Yeah. So no, it was absolutely incredible. By the way, semi story worth telling from that experience. There was we saw Chicago one of the nights, which is the big
band.
The musical Chicago.
Oh,
and one of the women who's the star of the show, there was a pretty big deal Canadian actress and really talented, and everybody there knows. We didn't know her. So we're leaving this bed and breakfast we're staying at. It's a really cool old house, and to go to lunch or something, and we wanted to get a picture of the three of us in front of it. And so this woman's walking by, and I just hand her my phone. I'm like, hey, would you mind taking a picture of the three of us? I don't know who she is, anything. She's well put together. I mean, now that I know, I can see how she could be a dancer or performer. She looks like she's about 30, whatever, but I don't think.
What does that mean?
I'm just saying, like, so I hand her the phone. Like, she looked a little confused, and I couldn't figure it out at the time. But later I realized that most people, when they hand her their phone asking for a picture, they want a picture with her. She's like a big star up there. I didn't know who she was. So we had the star of the show take a picture of the three of us.
That's perfect.
It was
That's
just
a
outstanding.
classic. Don't you know who I am moment.
Oh, it was great.
Actually, that'd be a really good bit though if you did know and you didn't like a celebrity and you pulled that off.
Yeah,
I mean you pulled it off really well because you actually had no idea. But if you could do it with someone that
the best part is that evening we're watching the show and early on she comes out and I look at my sister and I'm like, is that the woman who took a picture of us? Yeah. Oh, now that makes sense why she was a little confused.
That was quite the roller coaster of a story from you because I tell you what, that thing was going down quick and then you saved it.
As most stories.
I liked it.
That was actually a story worth telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. That is 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing. If you are looking for a place for Sunday brunch, I highly, highly, highly recommend the experience at Midtown Brewing Company. Go to midtownbrewing.net to check out their menu, their beer selection. Just a great vibe, great casual, just a place with great character, really good menu. Go to midtownbrewing.net to check it all out. Great place for Sunday brunch. All right, do we want to dig into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions?
Nah, I think we could wax poetic about some more boring shit for an hour.
Let's do it.
Get to them?
Yeah.
Eric Schultz up first. Are you surprised that Max Christie went so high to the Lakers? Would you have made that pick if you were them? Or would you have preferred to take someone who can shoot?
Little
dig there.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was surprised.
I was a little surprised he went that early. I thought he might have a promise from somebody that he was not going to fall beyond a certain point. I have no idea if that's the Lakers or wasn't. He's a high upside guy, I think, and so I can see them finding some value. I can see anybody finding value in him. I don't think he contributes next year. And I think as high as he went in 35, at the 35th overall pick, I do think you can find players who can fit roles that maybe contribute next year. And if you're the Lakers and looking at your roster, that might be what you want. And so I was a little
LeBron decimated it, so you're trying to get some young guys in there.
I was a little surprised to see Christie go there.
But, they do need a kind of a project player that they don't need to come in right away, right?
Well,
so why wouldn't it?
So, if you're the organization and you're thinking in a couple years we're going to have a total rebuild on our hands, maybe a year and a half, whatever it is, you might think right now we want to be drafting guys, especially second-round picks, that you think have a chance to develop into something. And Max Christie, I think, is a player that has a chance to do that. He may not, but certainly I think he has higher ceiling than some guys who were taken where he was taken.
Next one from Eric Schultz. Like Peyton Thorne, both Connor Cook and Brian Lewerke had promising years as redshirt sophomores in their first full season as starters. Cook built up on that in his junior year, while Lewerke struggled. Will Thorne's junior season be more like Cook's or Lewerke's, and why?
So it is a good question because Lewerke, two things happened with Lewerke. One, he got hurt, and that changed the trajectory of things a little bit. But the other thing, the problem Lewerke had that I don't think I understood, and to be fair, Cook had a little of this too, was accuracy. A little bit of an issue with that. But for Lewerke, he just never. Yeah, it's a really good question. I think that Peyton Thorne is already ahead of where Brian Lewerke was. There were moments in Lewerke's career where I thought he was going to be a star, and you're right, he just sort of plateaued. And that is the question. I do think Thorne is a certain level student of the game. I mean, he comes from that coaching background. He is a guy who, even within the bowl game we just watched, the last time out, he really struggled. He understood what was going wrong with his footwork, and he corrected it in game. Like, I think that's a different type of player a little bit, and we usually didn't see that with Lewerke. If a game was a struggle, it was a struggle. So all three are very different quarterbacks. I think Thorne continues to progress. I don't know what his ceiling is, though, is the real question. Is he an NFL guy? Is he a guy that 2 years from now, when he's on an NFL roster, and be like, yeah, we should have seen that. That guy really, accuracy-wise and other things, just has it. Or is he going to be another guy that is sort of a fringe dude hoping for a shot in the NFL and never really sticks? I don't think that's known, but I do think he will not have the same trek as Lewerke.
Next one from Eric. Does any other pro sports city have a bigger juxtaposition in GM competence level than Troy Weaver to Al Avila? And from Andrew Gauthier, has the past 48 hours been the most impressive front office performance in Detroit in the last decade plus? Troy Weaver crushed it.
It's certainly, I mean, obviously you have to see what comes of these draft picks for the Pistons.
There's not much he's competing with, too, as well. Right. And by the way, the Jeremy Grant trade, of course, people were kind of questioning that. And we apologize, Troy Weaver. You have to understand what we've been through here in Michigan and Detroit. So nothing against you. We just heard the 7th overall pick, possibly from Portland. And next thing you know, it's like a first rounder from Milwaukee that he flipped. So
it is impressive. Like, he is playing chess, and we're not used to that.
Right.
We're a little like...
That's why I apologize for everyone.
We don't see the 3 moves down the road coming because we've been dealing with Al Avila. Like, right. Who's not going to make that move.
We're dumb sports fans that we want it now, and, it's like...
It is impressive, regardless of how it works out, because on draft day it looks smart. And obviously, guys cannot pan out, and things can go wrong.
And by the way, the Kings absolutely helped Detroit by taking Keegan Murray. I like Keegan Murray, but, man, at 4, it just reads bust, especially with Sacramento.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just think I think he'll be a good player. I just don't know that.
With Jaden Ivey, there's so much potential there,
right?
And you need that kind of guy in Sacramento.
To me, it was a 4-player. There will be other players in the draft, by the way, who are really good. But it was a 4-player real draft in terms of who you think has the chance to be a breakout player, a real all-star type player. And again, there will be 2 or 3 other guys in the draft who pan out big that you don't see coming. And the Pistons had the 5th pick, so it was kind of depressing in that sense. And then Sacramento helps you out. And you get that guy like Jaden Ivey. And look, Ivey may or may not turn out to be a great pro, but he's got athleticism and speed and spades, and he's got something that'll show against NBA players that's different than even most NBA guys. And I like the pairing with Cade Cunningham.
And the 6'4" thing, I think that's overblown. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. I mean, guys can play outside of being just 6'4".
No, he's quick as shit, too. I mean,
right. But, that was the big knock of, like, well, he's only 6'4", and the killers like Kobe Bryant was 6'6", and that kind of
I certainly, I'm intrigued by this Pistons roster as I have in a long time. And Jalen Duren is interesting, too, because, all the talk was that they were going to go after DeAndre Ayton, and maybe they still do, but I don't see why you would. I don't see why you would at this point with
You don't want a guy. DeAndre Ayton seems like a guy that was a perfect fit with the Suns and would come to Detroit, get a contract, be lazy, and just not perform. I just don't like it.
I don't see why you pay that guy when you've got 2 young centers on your team who are cheap, who you're still trying to figure out a little bit.
Right.
And so I don't know why you would do that. And
you know that they're still a little ways away with the teams like Golden State, and who knows what LeBron's going to do with the Lakers. You're not really going to compete for a championship right now, so why overpay for DeAndre Ayton?
I'm totally with you. But, yeah, in terms of most impressive in the last decade, I mean, we haven't seen anything. The whole city has been down in a while. I'm trying to think the last move.
Bob Quinn. I mean, that was – I'm not saying he did anything well, but –
what's the last move in Detroit, though, that made you go, well, that was really – I mean, that –
well, you can't really credit Avila with the Riley Green torque thing because they were fairly obvious picks. hasn't really made any trades. I mean,
the Lions haven't done it. The Red Wings have been down for a while. You know,
I tell you, well, with Brad Holmes, obviously, are we talking about before Brad Holmes? I mean, that's why I'm saying we should apologize to Troy Weaver for being a little skeptical, but he has to also understand on our side why we are that way.
And we
can't even name anyone.
I would go back to early Dumars and the ability to turn Grant Hill leaving into Ben Wallace.
And but the way it ended kind of tarnishes the Joe D thing.
I'm not saying it was perfect, but we don't know how this is going to end with Weaver either. I'm saying at one point there have been moves where you went, oh, that works.
Yeah.
And some of the signings that turned into great players and drafting Tayshaun Prince where they did. But
I'm just saying the way Joe D was looked at and revered, and then all of a sudden he's kind of getting goofed on. It's a weird way his career ended as a GM.
It did not end well. He also had the owner die and was kind of hamstrung. There were a lot of things that went wrong with the Joe D ending.
You think Joe D used that excuse? Well, the owner died.
Well, he wasn't allowed to do certain things.
I understand. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe. Eric Schultz with this one. Does any other pro city have a bigger... Oh, shit, I just read that. Did Graham ever mail the prizes for the Pick'em contest? He asked for my address like a month ago, but I still haven't gotten anything.
It's coming, Eric, and it's going to be majestic. We're putting something together.
No, we're because you've said that so many times, so people aren't going to believe it. I'm telling you, we talked about it before we started recording the show. We're going to get you guys taken care of. So I'm jumping on the case, helping Graham with this. Well, I'm just saying, man, we got to get some of these effing prizes.
Absolutely.
And you want to take a charge, so we're going to have it taken care of. I promise.
That's the Jason Nick promise.
It's getting better. Dominic up next. Ebling and Rico always say, I was talking to a guy the other day who said, insert insane take that literally nobody would ever say. Is it really a guy, or is it just a way to oversell the point they're trying to make? And if they're real, why would you even talk to that guy?
That is something you hear from Ebling and Rico.
And it's Twitter.
Yeah.
And you do it too. Sometimes.
Do I?
Yeah, because someone on Twitter said, like, well, no shit, there's 8.9 billion people on Twitter. Someone probably said something insane.
I don't know that I say it.
Well, don't get offended. All right, it's just Ebling and Rico, and sometimes you.
Thank you. No, Dominic didn't add me. Dominic will call me out.
I did add you.
Yes, but Dominic is the voice of authority here. He's the one with the question.
True. But maybe sometimes people like Dominic forget.
Yeah, I do think it is Twitter, largely. And maybe Ebling, Ebling has all sorts of people come up to him. So and so does Rico, for that matter. So
Daily Double told me.
There may be actually people. But I also think that is a clever way to
get shit started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
what you have to do when you do a TV show, right?
Yeah.
With Rico and stuff, you have to kind of do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Next one from Dominic. Does Graham have an in with Big Gretch that he could use to my advantage? Triple date at the Graduate?
Yeah, I mean, I do actually know her lead speechwriter. And, he plays on my soccer team. Yeah, Chai, good guy. So
what does that mean? Can you get him a date?
I don't know. I don't know if I can get you a date with Gretchen Whitmer, Dominic. But like, it's one of those things. If somebody said to you, you need to talk to Gretchen Whitmer today, and it's a challenge, and there's like $1 million on the line, I could get it done.
Okay, man.
But
no one questioned you.
But I don't think I could set anybody up with a date
to a married woman.
Who's also the governor of the state.
Right.
Next
one from Dominic. Why did Ray Liotta die, but Mitch McConnell gets to live to 157?
Yeah, sometimes life ain't fair, is it?
Oh, my God. It's some of the most miserable people that live that long.
And Ray Liotta was, man.
Who?
Liotta, sorry. Did I say Liotta?
Show some respect.
Sorry. I'm a big... No,
Chantix. I remember that. Do you remember that Chantix commercial that he did? I just would walk around the house and be like, Chantix. I quit smoking due to Chantix. Rest in peace.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, I had an energy drink. I'm shot out of a cannon today.
This is great. I like it.
Yeah. Dominic, how does this country manage to continually operate by the will of like 9 motherfuckers who watch the 700 Club? Like, where the fuck are we?
Yeah, we're not in a great place, I don't think, as a country. We've been in better spots.
Nothing to do with Biden. You have to cap it at 70. to be president. You can't listen. If you run and you win, at age 64, that's fine. But we got to get.
Let's say that for any national political office.
1,000%.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're just not. And I was watching somebody the other day. I think it was David Gergen, who's worked for like 4 different presidents in different parties, and he's 81 now, and he was just saying like, I'm not as sharp as I used to be, and I know it.
Right.
And he goes, but I'm also not running a country, and I do believe, I'm not saying there aren't wise old people who shouldn't be of counsel. But to be in a major spot, like I would love to, we do need to turn this over. That said, there are a lot of
people are trying to
younger
bust Biden because he has to have it written down to you sit down here and you talk to this person. I'm 43. I need those instructions as well. I can't imagine being 80 years old doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, there are way too many old people running critical things, and there's just no point. I mean,
and it's not a political side either way. It's just old people across the board. When you're 80 plus years old, you shouldn't be.
But the flip side of that is we do have a situation now where where the will of the people is not necessarily always happening because of our situation and our setup, the way, electoral college.
Basically,
all
what
that
it's
shit.
saying is we're fucked, and we need to do a Skymint live read.
I'm not saying we're fucked, but I would say this: if you are watching the news these days and you feel like we're fucked,
yes,
Skymint can help, right? Go to skymint.com for location information. They will deliver to you in many cities, including the Lansing area. And you can join their point system. You can get points rack up. You can get $25 off when you refer a friend that way. And they have all sorts of cool stuff. Like even right now, this weekend, they have some cool deals going on. Huge savings with what they're describing as their camp out bundles. That's bulk flour and pre-rolls, vape, edibles, concentrates, all sorts of really cool stuff. From North and Skymint, like you can get 3 for $30 North gummies right now, 5 for $35, 10 for $60. That's a hell of a weekend right there. Go to skymint.com to find out your location and see their latest deals.
All right, plus size softball dad. After seeing Jackson Kohler play, do you feel better or worse about your Manzier bet? Great column, by the way. Fuck it, I'm all in on Jackson this season.
Yeah, I'm still not worried about the Manzier bet. Like, regardless of what I saw there, I think their backcourt is going to be good enough to escape me from 20 wins.
What did you see, though, in one Moneyball game? What did we see?
So the real key to watching Moneyball is having seen enough of Moneyball to understand you can be fooled at Moneyball, right? And to understand what's real and what's not and what's fair to look at and what's...
You're a grizzled veteran.
I'm a grizzled veteran of the overreactions of Moneyball, right? And it's... Tum Tum is the most famous one because Tum Tum looked like Steph Curry for a little while at Moneyball, and Tum Tum was not Steph Curry. So that's the thing. Like AJ Hoggard right now is hitting a lot of threes, deep threes at Moneyball, and that's and he insists it's going to carry over. And look, some of those shots looked really good, but you do have to see it in the season. That said, you have to. When a guy's all of a sudden hitting threes who didn't hit a lot of jump shots last year, that's a good sign. You'd rather that than the opposite, as long as he can take smart shots next year. But with Kohler, like he's clearly one of the things I talked to Colin Jones, who was a Moneyball favorite. He used to be this 300-pound guy. They called him Twinkle Toes. He had just this unbelievable feet, good hands, but he'd never gotten himself in great shape, and he's lost a ton of weight. And anyway, he was guarding Kohler for part of that game. And he just talked about a guy who plays at his own pace, and you can see that. He doesn't get rushed. And those guys, there's a skill set to him that a lot of big guys don't have. There's an understanding of the game in certain ways. I mean, you're talking about a true freshman who shows up at Moneyball. He's calling for the ball at certain times. He's a little bit of an edge to him. He shows one baseline fadeaway
holy hell
move that was pretty good.
No pressure, Jackson.
No, hold on. I do not know how it'll all translate right away to the college game. But what I see from him is a guy who will eventually be a very, very good player in the Big Ten. How quickly this happens when you've got really attentive defense, athletic, and on you, I don't know. I also, having conversations with him afterward, he's an interesting guy. Like, he hears all the shit about can he play defense. And he was like pronouncing that I can absolutely play defense. I'm not going to let people down on that side. I don't know whether that will actually translate to him playing defense, but it's interesting that he hears it and that he's focused on it and that he's promising that he can. he also talked about, when I asked him about the speed in which he plays and sort of not getting sped up, he talked about the person who controls the speed of the game controls the game. And he said, when I control the game, you don't hear big men say that. When I control the game, like there's a dude who thinks of himself a certain way. And I'm very curious to see where it all goes. Nothing I saw dissuaded me from being intrigued by him. Nothing I saw made me think that Shaquille O'Neal either. He was about what I thought he might be, and I'm as intrigued as I ever was.
Holy hell.
Was
Get
that
on the Kohler train, baby.
Was that an oversell?
This poor kid. Next from Plus Size Softball Dad. How many games will Max Christie play with LeBron during his career? Less than 25?
Yes.
Unless LeBron goes down to the G League just to get some practice or something. But
well, so here's the thing Max Christie has going for him beyond having, I think some upside. He's joining a roster that doesn't have a lot there and has salary cap hell, and they have to bring guys in on the minimum. They have to play some of these guys like Max Christie. You join certain teams, and you're surefire G League, I think. Yeah. And the Lakers, they got to fill out a roster every year with signing a bunch of new players at the minimum. And so maybe he's on the bench there. I think the best thing for Max Christie, though, is to play a lot. So what you're hoping for him is that he's in a situation where, like Bryn Forbes was in San Antonio early on, where he's both down and up quite a bit, where when they're on the road, maybe he's down with the Santa Cruz. I don't know where they actually play their G League games. But because that really helped Bryn Forbes. When San Antonio sent him down, he played point guard for their G League team to work on his ball handling. And then he would come up for some games because they needed his shooting. So if Christie's just sitting on an NBA bench, that doesn't do him a whole lot of good on a team that LeBron wants to win with. I think if you're Max Christie, you need to be playing half the season of G League games.
Plus Size Softball Dad. Should I be excited about the Pistons draft? And from Andrew Gauthier, when was the last time you were this excited about the Pistons? Looks like they've established an exciting young core with tons of upside and a couple potential all-stars.
I mean, I think you have to be excited about it. To get 2 lottery picks, guys that I think both are upside guys, and that's the key for me in the NBA draft, is guys who have a potential to grow into something great, because you can't win in the NBA without stars. You can't win, you can only have so many role players unless you want
2004 Pistons. I mean, you could say Ben Wallace was a star.
So was Chauncey Billups. So those guys are underrated.
To you and in Michigan, yes, he was respected, but is he a star?
But yeah,
kids look at him and go, "Oh, I want to be Chauncey Billups."
Rasheed Wallace was
sure. Well, okay.
And if Jalen Duren wound up being Rasheed Wallace, you'd sign up 1,000,000 times for that. I'm not saying, when I say star, I'm not talking you've just drafted Kobe. What I'm saying is you need a guy who's an upper-tier dude, not just a rotational piece. You don't need Luke Kennard anymore. You can't have Luke Kennards.
Yeah.
And so I think both of these guys fit the mold of the guy you're hoping develops into something that you can
need Jackson Kohler, apparently.
Jackson Kohler next year, yeah.
Jesus.
Second overall pick.
Gavin Haas. Do you think the possibility of Miles Bridges becoming a Piston is higher after seeing what they did in the draft?
Yes and no. And I don't mean
he wants the max.
Both sides is
Graham Stout answer.
Well, it's this, and because they went after Jalen Duren and they already have Isaiah Stewart, who they like and showed some things late last year that I think they're intrigued by in terms of his shooting and other things. I don't see DeAndre Ayton as a fit anymore. I don't know why you would do that. So that if that was where you were going to go, if you were going to spend max money and you're not likely anymore, then Miles Bridges, who's obviously from Flint, becomes a little more of a possibility just based on positional availability in your roster. However, having said that, you read James's analysis, James Edwards, who obviously we have on, and we'll try to have on again here shortly. It does sound like they don't want to max out with this money they have available. They want to add several veteran pieces that allow them to continue to have flexibility that aren't maybe on the books forever. It sounds to me like they want to build through their young guys as the core, hoping you have stars there, and with role players with the cap space. And I like that idea. I like trying to figure out what you have before you change the character and the makeup of your roster. If you go get a max dude, that guy thinks he's the guy on your team. Like that changes what you're trying to build, and I don't think you know yet what you have or what you're going to turn into because you just drafted two pieces who've never played an NBA game, who you're excited about. You got to let those guys sort of help shape what the team is going to be.
Next one from Gavin. When's the soonest you can get James Edwards on to talk about the draft?
There we go. Maybe we do it this week again.
MFers now?
I know we just had him on, but this is
Text
a good
him
time
right now.
Yeah. Well, we'll do the show, but maybe we'll do it Tuesday. I think we're doing another show
Next Saturday.
Yeah, but we got another one before then. We got two more before then, actually. So,
Jesus.
Yeah. So, I'll be so excited. We'll have him on midweek at some point, whenever that show is. It's Tuesday night.
Next from Gavin. Why did MSU get such a boring matchup in Notre Dame for the Big Ten ACC Challenge?
It's interesting about the Notre Dame thing is for years people are like, why do they never play Notre Dame? That used to be such a classic matchup 40 years ago and all that stuff. And now
boring.
It's boring, and they played them a couple times. And it's not too exciting. Yeah, part of it is when you're not anticipated to be a contender, you're not going to get the top matchups. And Michigan State has often been anticipated to be one of the top teams in the Big Ten, and they've gotten the top matchups. I don't hate it. I don't know. There are less interesting matchups you could have.
Andrew Gauthier. Thoughts on the Lakers saying they would have had to draft Christie in the top 15 had he returned to MSU for another year? That's just talk.
I mean, it would have depended on what he did.
Of
like,
course.
you look at Shaden Sharp, who didn't play at all, and wound up going, what did he go, 7? Something like that?
Yeah.
And so, Portland, yeah. And maybe that works out. But you look at some guys who did come in and play, and they dropped. Like, if Max Christie had not played at all last year, he would have gone higher, I think. He would have been a more intriguing prospect.
But it's just CEO speak or whatever. We drafted this guy, and now, if we waited a year, if he came back or whatever, yes, he would be a top 15 pick. It just makes you feel better about what you did.
I do think that Max Christie, based on the way the approach he takes, if Max Christie is legitimately going to be an NBA guy that's going to last in the league, that we would have really seen it if he had stayed at Michigan State next year, because he is a worker. He does take care of his body. He does, get sleep, eat healthy. He behaves like a pro in certain elements which help you take the next step. And I think we would have seen it. And I think he might have been a lottery pick then. But he saw himself as a pro now.
Next one from Andrew. Rank the Godfather movies and give reasons. Do you consider The Godfather one of the best ever? And have you guys seen Top Gun Maverick yet? If not, I highly recommend it.
I have not seen Top Gun Maverick.
I have not.
At some point I will, but I won't do it probably till is it available already in Netflix or whatever?
Studio C. I'll go there.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to go to a theater to watch it, just because it's not because I won't go to a theater. I'm not that intrigued by it. Is what I'm saying. It's not Love Actually here we're talking.
But see,
about.
A lot of people are recommending it, and usually I just you say whatever. But everyone I hear from is like it's really a great movie. So that's when I would go to a theater.
So The Godfather. Do you consider one of the best ever?
No,
me neither.
I don't. I like Casino. I like Goodfellas better than that.
It's a good movie, but it's not. Here's what I can.
Scarface.
If you're going to make my list, and I understand from a film perspective, it may be a great movie. But if a movie comes on TV and I flip to it, and I'm never really, let's watch this for a while. Like, there are movies, Wedding Crashers, for example. Every time that's on, I watch for a while. I love Wedding Crashers.
Couple knee slappers and then turn it. Get a couple chuckles.
It's a great movie.
I know, but every time you see it, though, I mean,
not every time.
Maybe that's why I'm just not a big movie guy that way. Like, if I see any movie that's like 1980 or before then or something like that, I'm just like, eh.
But speaking of Ray Liotta, even if Field of Dreams comes on and he's out there playing Shoeless Joe Jackson, I'm going to watch for a few minutes. Right?
Sure.
There's not with the Godfather movies. I don't usually say that, and to rank them, they always say 3 is the worst. I've seen 3, but I barely remember it. But I also, you can watch them together. The last time I watched them, there's a way to watch 9 hours together, which is also, it kind of blurs what's what, but also don't do it because it winds up dragging a little bit.
Really? 9 hours?
Yeah, you don't like.
What hour does it start to drag, Graham?
Yeah,
3.
4. Yeah, earlier would be the second one. I feel like there's extra footage. I don't know.
I don't dislike them. I just have never really. I don't know, watch them and like them.
Yeah.
I guess, if that makes sense. Next one from Andrew. Brooks Koepka to, is it Live or LIV?
Either way works.
Either Live. Your thoughts. Jason, can you weigh in as well? Do I have to ask Graham? Graham, can I weigh in on this one?
By the way, one of the cool things they do at Groovy Donuts is if, say, the golfer in your life is moving to the Live Tour and you want to do a celebration for them and do some LIV donuts or
gender reveal
or put their face or gender reveal, right? Gender reveal is the best. It can be anything, gender transition, whatever it is you're doing, gender related. Groovy Donuts will help you celebrate the occasion. Go to groovydonuts.com to place your order today. They have some awesome these Strawberry Fields donuts going on this weekend through Sunday. They're off next week. They've got some things to do, and they're giving their staff a little break during the 4th of July holiday. So just be aware of that. But groovydonuts.com for your occasion. To place your order today. And 2 locations, that's in East Lansing on Lake Lansing Road and also in Williamston. To me, the Koepka thing is, I think this is now 8 of the top 40 golfers.
Something like that.
Whenever it gets to, you're starting to get to a moment where you go, like how many, like to me, if you get to 15 of 40 and Live is all.
Who are they, though?
Well, but if they're guys like Koepka, who's a notable good dude.
Yeah, but he hasn't won in a while.
It's true.
You know, and he has the majors, and it's a shortened schedule, and they're, from what I'm hearing, they're guaranteeing $100+ million. And Koepka, I think, is a guy that doesn't mind taking it. It shocked me because of DeChambeau being over there, and he absolutely despises DeChambeau. So I don't know why you'd want to see him.
But Koepka's brother's on the tour, too. I think that was part of the deal.
True.
They went after his brother, gave him some money, so they took care of the family.
But I can't, to be honest with you, with a shortened schedule, with a schedule that Liv has, it's really tough if you've already done it on the PGA. What bothers me is these guys are knowing that they're not going to play on the Ryder Cup team because of playing in this league. And I thought maybe that would
it hurts the Ryder Cup,
sway some guys. But you have to get names. I understand there's top 15 players, but you have to be a name as well. You have to have some sort of recognition. Just because you're a top 20 player doesn't mean you're gonna draw. Am I going to watch still because of Koepka going to Live? I don't think so.
But they don't have a TV deal. That's what's. It is sort of you're seeing the PGA react to it. There's talks of they're going to get rid of that. Right now, the PGA Tour schedule goes all the way through the winter. There's really no break, and top players wind up behind in points if they take some months off. They're going to get rid of some of that. It sounds like they're going to try to make it more appealing, and that might be the legacy of the Live Tour in certain ways. Is that it helps the PGA Tour. You know, you're not a monopoly anymore. You cannot just treat people however you want to. You've got to listen to what your top players want and become a better tour.
But why are we vilifying the guys that are taking this guaranteed money?
Well, like
James Pyatt. I mean, a young kid like that and getting money thrown at you that way. I just think the PGA is kind of pissed off because they have some competition finally.
We'll get into this in a little bit because there's another Twitter question about it a little bit later. So we'll come back to this.
Bo McJunkins, I understand the Saudi money criticism for Live Golf, but don't we all buy things from countries with bad morals?
And so by a little bit later, I meant next.
I didn't even...
Yeah. I realized as soon as I looked at it, I was like, yes, that makes sense. I put them together. It was
quite the preview.
We do. I mean, the money's coming straight from Saudi Arabia, and everybody knows. I mean, often we don't understand where things are coming from, and we
just get mad about something.
We can plead ignorant.
Yeah.
I am not as there are lots of things to choose to get outraged in this world, and there are some things right now I think in this country that are worth getting outraged about and taking a stand on. This is not one that I care all that much about. I'm not saying I would make the same decision, but I understand for certain guys, and James Pyatt is one of them. Here's a guy that, I don't know that he's that good. He wasn't playing well at all lately. I don't know. I think he got hot. He won the U.S. Amateur. He became a name, and he's capitalizing on it. And this may be, and I think he got maybe $5-6 million to join this tour, and he'll have a better chance to win because there are fewer guys and
everything's first class. Your caddies get their flight and travel paid for.
Again,
I mean, that's insane.
But I think for guys like him, I understand the lure of it. If you're trying to capitalize on what you may not be the real deal, and you've got an opportunity to get paid like you are because of one thing you did. I can.
But does it make
understand.
them the vilification though of kind of claiming that the person's a traitor for taking this kind of blood money? I mean,
here's my problem, and I understand
my mind.
They can't say it in part because they're working for this organization now. I just wish they'd be a little more upfront about it being about the money. That's what's to me is kind of bullshit. It's just this cowardly approach to the reasons
thought
they're
Dustin
doing
Johnson kind of said that.
Maybe
I mean,
he
they
did.
kind of in a roundabout way. I don't know if there's
Just say it
because
up
of
front.
contract. I mean, but it's fairly obvious. You really need to say it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
And I think you could say it when you could say, look at the money. Look what they're doing for us.
But look
here.
what happened to the PGA. They're starting to up their purses as well. So
that's what I said.
That's what I like about them shaking the PGA Tour up, because they got a little too high and mighty for themselves. Now, unfortunately, the LIV and the Saudi Arabia money had to do it, but I like that.
Despite Saudi Arabia having unlimited funds, I do not think the LIV will be around in 5 years. But I do think that their legacy will be, in part, that they forced the PGA to take a look at things and make some changes.
And Rory McIlroy, my new favorite player. I love Rory. Bo McJunkins. The Warriors are a 2-year group, says Graham. Does this mean that they'll lose 2 key players? An average player leaves thinking that he'll get a max deal, and then Steve Kerr only has 8 players next year.
Ha 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 ha. I think Bo here is rightfully poking fun at me for saying Michigan State was a 2-year group, and then same with the Warriors and what happened. He had putting together, well, but he's paying attention, which I like. Yeah. No, the Warriors are like the envy of everything. The Warriors are exactly what you want your pro sport team to be in this sense. Whenever this run is done, because they won this extra championship, you're going to feel like they maximize this group. And that's the dream. You can handle a rebuild. You can handle some tough years if when your team has its rise and has its moment, it maximizes what it could do. And I feel like 4 titles makes that feel that way. The Pistons didn't quite do it with their
2
great
with
group.
Durant, though.
Yeah, well, absolutely, though. But that's fine.
And how big of regret does Durant have now? If
For
he would
leaving?
have just stayed
Yeah.
with Golden State.
Never tie yourself to Kyrie.
That's true. I like how Kyrie, by the way, has like 6 teams he's willing to be traded for.
Fuck
whatever.
Kyrie.
He's
What a moron.
It's just unbelievable. Last one from Bo McJunkins. Who is Chad Latz, voice of an angel?
Highway to the danger zone. Right into.
By the way, Latz After Dark should come with a not safe for work if you follow Chad.
Yeah.
Just saying. Porn does not offend me, but it's just kind of when you're just kind of scrolling through your feed at like 9:30 at night, and you
once in a while likes or favorites of things. You're like, oh, Chad.
No, it's the comments. The comments
okay.
are my favorite.
Yeah.
I really like Chad. Ryan Allen.
Rooting for Chad.
Ranked the best GMs in Detroit's pro sports.
Well, it's Troy Weaver, number 1. At this point, I think number 2,
Can we just wait a little bit on Troy Weaver? I mean, it's great so far. I'm
yeah,
enjoying
but
it.
you would put him number 1 right now. Over
I guess I would
Yzerman?
go with. Well, no, I just go with Brad Holmes just because of tenure. I think that he's
Okay.
kind of done it a little bit more before Troy. Obviously, Troy can knock him.
Troy's
off the
been
top
there
spot.
longer, though.
Has he?
Yeah.
Well, then I'm a complete ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, Troy Weaver, then Brad Holmes. Then.
Yeah. And Yzerman, hockey is the hardest to do because of the hard cap and the way the rebuild is. I still think Avila's last, if that's the question. Avila's last. And then
no shit.
And then if we're talking about all time and other things, I mean, there's, Trader Jack McCoskey. I mean, you're talking about, they've had some great ones at certain times. And obviously what the Red Wings did for, most of 2 decades was pretty outstanding. So there have been, it's not like we've always had this dark period. But right now it's I think Troy is 1 and Avila's last, and it's
Dombrowski too. Back in the day, he was great. He was fun because he was
pretty
able
good
to spend.
The one thing he did do is he did not leave a whole lot of people in the farm system.
Right.
But at the time, you're trying to win titles.
Right.
And so I was okay with it.
Ryan Allen, Nick Palmer. Would you have taken Holmgren at 1?
Chet Holmgren?
No. I think Holmgren's a bust.
Do you really?
Yeah. I don't like him whatsoever. I just, there's no way he's going to gain any more weight. I just don't see.
I think
I
you've got a
understand
little
that he
Marcus
has-
Bingham PTSD. I don't know if you watched.
You know what? That is true. That might be a little bit of it, but I'm just saying I've watched his game. His dad is the same size. He says this is what he's going to get. and his dad's a beanpole as well. I'm not saying that it's a league where you get bodied a lot much anymore. I think
he's a really good instinctual defensive player, and I think
what about Porzingis? He reminds me of a Porzingis.
Yeah,
and Porzingis had more weight on him.
He's more athletic than Porzingis.
Yeah,
more athletic than Porzingis. I like him more. I don't know that I would have taken him one. The beauty of where the Pistons are is this wasn't a draft where any of the guys I thought were necessarily sure to be one. And that's why you wound up with a situation where Banchero, people thought was going to go 3, and he winds up at 1. The beauty of the Jaden Ivey pick is it feels like that was the end of the top-tier dudes, and that should have been at 4, and somehow it went to 5, and you just take who's left, and the Pistons got lucky. You don't even have to decide between all those guys. Like if the Pistons had the number 2 pick, you got decisions to make, right? And I think that's where you can miss. If you miss on Jaden Ivey, people go, well, that was a smart pick. If Jaden Ivey doesn't pan out, big whoop.
But let's talk about the draft for a second. Can we stop with Woj tipping picks on the fucking air, like on the broadcast? If he wants to do it on Twitter, I can ignore Twitter, but I'm watching the draft to be surprised, and he's telling me Keegan Murray's going to the Kings.
Right.
I don't understand why they did that. All right.
I'm not a huge Woj fan either. I don't see the problem with Woj on TV is he's sort of like me doing this show. He's not very smooth, doesn't get to things quickly, and just sort of stutters and repeats himself. And sort of what he has to say, he's already said in the tweet, and then they cut to him, and he says the same thing, but over 2 minutes, and sort of repeats himself without new information. And you can tell he doesn't have all that much more information, but he's trying to sort of analyze it to justify his purpose for being on air. I don't like him because he tried blaming gambling on the whole Boston Celtic fan with Kyrie thing. One of my favorite moments recently, and I probably shouldn't share this. Yeah, that gambling thing was ass, by the way.
Yeah.
Because he was wrong, by the way, too, I think. Is Nick Friedel, who's on ESPN. Some of you may know him. He's a reporter for them, covers the Warriors. He's a fun dude.
He's been on.
Yeah, he's been on our show. Yeah. Right. And so I could tell there's a 2-shot. I think it's Malika Andrews and a 3-shot. Sorry, it's the host of whatever show. It might have been Malika Andrews, and then it's Nick Friedel and Woj. And Woj is doing his rambling whatever. And I'm just looking at Friedel's face, and I know how Friedel feels about this too. And Friedel is trying not to laugh his ass off. Like, what the fuck is he talking about? And so I texted Friedel at that moment, and he kind of confirmed his feelings. It made me feel good that I'm not alone. And I think if you feel that way about Woj, people who work with him feel that way too.
Nick Palmer. Is Cade and Ivy the next Isaiah and Dumars? If God is real, yes.
That
Absolutely.
would be the dream. Absolutely. Yeah. No, the thing is, though, what's so great is for the Pistons right now is you have that hope. Like, hope is important as a sports fan. They may not be that way, but there are very few years as a fan of a team where you can say that and hope for that and have realistic hope that you've just drafted a decade-long backcourt that's epic together. Again, we don't know that it'll happen, but the Pistons have created that hope. And rarely for the Pistons, certainly not in a long time, and rarely for a lot of our Detroit sports teams have we had that sort of vibe.
Nick Palmer with this one. Did the Pistons get the most for Jeremy Grant?
Feels like it. I mean, we'll see what Jalen Duren winds up being. But
I would think you did, though, for trading a 27-year-old guy that's coming up on a contract for a young guy that's promising.
And that draft pick in 3 years is likely to be like the 28th overall pick of Milwaukee. And you wound up with a 13th pick with a guy that you wanted that I think a lot of people think has a chance to be a good player.
And even if something happens injury-wise, isn't it protected 1 through 5 or something like that?
Yeah.
Mojo Jojo. Which was more surprising, the Pistons pick or Paolo's suit? That suit was something else.
It was.
Something that neither one of us could pull off.
The Pistons pick, though, was interesting. The whole thing for me was I was at Moneyball and unable to be, and I was talking to Jackson Kohler, by the way, in case we haven't brought his name up a little bit. But and so it took me a while to get out of there, and I was just getting on the road when all of that started to break, and I just had to pull over to enjoy the Twitter experience during it because I couldn't watch it. And then as soon as they
pulled over to experience the Twitter,
I wanted to see what was happening.
Why didn't you just go to Tony Dombrowski's fucking Twitter page and just reminisce? I mean, you had to pull over.
Well, the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to pull up an app on the phone to be able to watch the reaction once it happened too. So,
God,
well, you can't drive and watch television.
You can actually.
Well, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. But I find it so fascinating that you were leaving Holt High School and you pulled off into like some McDonald's and got a shake and were staring at Twitter.
I wasn't out of the parking lot yet, so that helped. That's the thing. There was like a parking space.
So
right
you didn't really pull over. Those people that say, "Oh my God, I was listening to the show and I was laughing so hard I had to pull over."
Right. No, I wasn't on the highway and I like pull off. No, I was like in the parking lot.
I
and
just
took
need
a
to
different
soak
spot.
this in. You should have tweeted that out.
Yeah, I
Soaking this in on the side of the highway.
Yeah.
Mojo Jojo. Can Troy take over the Tigers next? On-field product is as good as a hot and ready. Embarrassing.
Hot and readies are underrated, by the way. I like
at Comerica.
What's that?
At Comerica, hot and readies are unbelievable. Whatever they serve at,
it's different.
It is different.
Yep,
tastes great.
And I even a hot and ready certain nights of the week, like you've had a long day and you're getting to that point where you're just hangry and you go by Little Caesars where you're full of Skyman.
Yes,
and you pull and you go by a Little Caesars. A hot and ready can sometimes just hit the spot. I'm going to tell you right now.
Is this a fucking live read for Little Caesars?
I apologize. It's not.
I couldn't remember what we were doing.
It should not. It should not be.
I mean, I wouldn't mind, but let's just call it what it is. You need some Skyman to eat their pizza.
The one thing I would love, like obviously Troy Weaver is a basketball guy, so he couldn't evaluate baseball players the same way. However, I do feel like he's the type of guy who could, in terms of making moves, if the evaluation was done for him, would make smart moves. And that's what you don't have in Avila. I don't trust in Avila. And that's what I wish. It's not just the evaluation.
What is Al Avila good at? Like, what is the one thing he's good at?
I don't know.
Right.
That's what frustrates me.
And why would you keep someone in your organization? If you ask that out loud and to a boardroom and no one can give you an answer.
It feels like what he's done with the Tigers, any of us could have done with the same opportunity. He hasn't.
Riley Green?
It's just the obvious plays, and sure, eventually if you're shitty enough long enough and draft high enough, you're going to have enough dudes in your system that it's going to be interesting for a little while.
And you're watching Verlander last night against the Yankees.
I don't hate that trade. That trade did not work out, but it was
good for Verlander,
trade.
So he'd get the fuck out and actually go to a contender. I'm saying, But guys like J.D. Martinez and Castellanos and some of those guys that could have stuck around and build a foundation. And the one guy we kept was like Miggy, which I'm okay with, but you could have kept some of those guys around if Illich wasn't so cheap. Next for Mojo. Should more high school athletes go to more prestigious schools? The NFL, NBA isn't a sure thing, but a degree from Stanford is.
Well, I think this is part of the reason that Stanford wins in football. And they'd never been able to do it before because they are unable to do what Michigan and Notre Dame and other places do, whereas they drastically lower their standards to get athletes in the school. And every place does it. But places that are considered of a certain level of prestige do it a lot. Stanford
it's called the Rube Rule. We can get you in.
Stanford, you have to still have all the AP classes, I believe, or whatever their rules are. They do not lower them. So, but they continue to be pretty damn good in football. And I think part of that appeal is that must be their recruiting pitch. Is like, hey, you can get to Stanford. Like we can get you to the NFL, but you know what? You're also at Stanford, and that's not a bad place to have a free education from. Palo Alto is freaking beautiful. So there is that.
Corey Ostrom. Is Troy Weaver the best GM in the NBA today? I'm not much for the NBA, so I'm a little ignorant to who is out there.
Yeah, I mean,
I know Danny Ainge isn't with them anymore, but he was with the Celtics.
Sam Presti has been, considered one of the best, obviously.
But I agree with Stephen A. He was yelling about that yesterday, about you got to win something, though.
Yes.
If you draft that much talent and you put that together and don't win a ring, I'm sorry.
And to me, the fact that you couldn't keep the Durant, Harden, Westbrook thing together for Presti is not great. I mean, obviously there are other talented GMs. I think Troy Weaver's up there, though. I mean, there's no doubt that what he has done, and we'd lived through these eras of Stan Van Gundy and before that, where it was just every year they took the.
That's why we should pump the brakes a little bit.
Hold on though. But every year they took the 7th or 8th pick on the draft.
Yep.
It was boring as shit. The guy never really panned out to be great, and Troy Weaver is moving and shaking, and his early returns. I mean, you have to say that not just Cade Cunningham, but Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart, and we'll see. I don't really think Killian Hayes is going to wind up doing anything in the NBA, but 2 of the 3 in that first year look like they're going to be guys who are in the league a long time. Sadiq Bey, I think, is going to be a starter in the league a long time. Cade Cunningham, starter. If they wind up with 2 starters out of this draft, and we'll find out, you may have at least 4 of your starters for like a run at something, and That's impressive to do out of a draft in just a couple years.
And Pat Riley, by the way. Next one from Corey. Are you hearing the rumblings that Carson Cooper may not redshirt after all, or is that just misinformation? Fact check, please. And from Ron Quixotes, what's the % chance Carson Cooper finishes the 22-23 season with his red shirt? And from Keon Coleman owns Magic. Does Carson Cooper see the court this year, even if we have no injuries? And good Lord, from Chris Eastlick, a lot of good thoughts today. After seeing him at Moneyball, do we think Carson Cooper will still redshirt? Seems like a guy with underrated potential. It is Moneyball, so not getting crazy, but with the development in it, would seem promising.
We should call Firekeepers and see if we can get the red shirt, no red shirt, Carson Cooper odds on the Firekeepers iCasino Sportsbook app. And by the way, they won't have that, but they do have a lot of other great things. And the bet that I've been playing a lot, that I love, the Tigers no runs first inning, whoever they're playing, or then live line second inning or whatever, I really enjoy. They get it out early there on the Firekeepers iCasino Sportsbook app, and another good reason to download it today. To answer the question about Carson Cooper, who I watched for the first time I'd ever seen him play at Moneyball, and he was, I think the competition he was up against was less than what Jackson Kohler faced, but it's still, you're right, it is Moneyball. He did have one nice drive spinning dunk that you went, oh. What you can see from Carson Cooper right away is that he's not a stiff. He's not some guy who is never going to be useful for Michigan State, or there's a chance will never be useful for Michigan State. I don't think he redshirts at this point. Now, if they stay 100% healthy all year, maybe he would. But that just doesn't tend to happen. There tends to be a moment where you need him, and I think he'll be ready to contribute to a certain degree. Not a large, he's not going to, I don't think he's a guy who's he's not going to, I don't want to say push Matty Sissoko like Sissoko's some proven entity. But I and certainly when you watch, I think Kohler has more skill to his game. But Cooper's a sturdy dude. He's athletic to more of a degree than I realized. And it just, given their situation at center, I find it hard to believe that guy is going to be able to sit on the bench all year. Now, for him, it may be the best thing. And I think he's hoping, though, that he'll prove he can play. And it was interesting talking to him about that. He said, yes, the plan is still the red shirt, but the way I'm performing, we'll see. And I think they're probably seeing it in him, too. The question is there a need? What's best for him? What's best for the program? And if he's willing to redshirt and you're able to do it, put it this way. If Carson Cooper redshirts, Michigan State's having a good season, I think, and having a little bit of a blessed charm season because they're not having injuries. They've got bigs who are performing well enough that they're not desperate to look for somebody else. So I think you want Carson Cooper to redshirt because he's not a bad prospect, but that also means other things are happening in front of him that are decent.
Don't coach my team.
Next one from Corey. My youngest son just graduated and is headed to Northern Michigan University in the fall. Aside of Black Rock's Brewery, give me some ideas for food, drink, and fun. I'm excited to have a son in Marquette and a son in East Lansing this fall. Two very hip cities.
I love Marquette. I just wrote the thing for the LSJ for 5 getaways in Michigan or whatever. I did the Marquette part because
was one Kalamazoo.
I didn't. I was asked to do Marquette. I didn't choose the 5. I just.
Oh, good.
I just wrote the Marquette.
You just
one.
a one.
Yeah. So
smart.
Marquette's outstanding. I would advise staying in one of those hotels that's right on the lake. There are a couple new builds that are right there. I think one's a Fairfield, one's a Hampton Inn or something like that. Or getting a house that it's easy enough to do there. And Baby Cake's one of the best, just cool old school vibes. You walk into like a muffin type bakery in the morning. I love Baby Cakes, their coffee, their poppy seed muffins. I think they're. This is not great, is it? I'll DM you. I'll DM you, Corey, because We'll fix this
It was
in
just
post.
turning it into like a Hallmark card. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit to do there. Jump off the actual Black Rocks, which is different from Black Rocks Brewery. It's kind of a fun thing in the Lake Superior. I would not do that in the winter. There's lots of cool shit to do there. There's a couple breweries that are really good. There are some really good restaurants. Border Grill is like fast food Mexican food that's really, really outstanding. If you've never had Border Grill, definitely get the Border Grill sauce. It's this little orange sauce. We'll fix this in post. We'll take it out and I'll DM you. Thank you, Corey.
Chris Eastlick, if he never tore his Achilles, what would Kalen Lucas's career or NBA career look like?
And Aubrey's Pizza too, Corey. Aubrey's Pizza. Yeah, it is interesting because I don't think Lucas ever got the Jets back that he had. And so he wasn't the biggest guy, wasn't the greatest outside shooter, but he also went into the NBA in a little bit of a different era. Like he was going in like 2011. I think he would have stuck in the NBA if he hadn't gotten hurt. And I don't know that he would have been a starting point guard or not, but I think he would have been a guy that was on rosters that his ability to be the road runner and get up and down the court, I think he would have had a substantial NBA career, maybe as a backup point guard and a guy you kind of knew on a bunch of different rosters in the NBA. And I think that Achilles took that away from him.
Next one from Eastlick. Which basketball team do you think eats at Izzo the most when it comes to not getting his second title? 09-10, 2013-14, 18-19, or not getting a chance at all in 2020? Before you answer, the no call on Draymond against Butler was a crime.
This is a really good question, and I think they're different for different reasons. And this is a question I need to ask Izzo because I think it's a good one that I don't know that I've ever asked him that.
2020 would be my...
Would it?
Yeah.
For you?
Yep.
Okay. So they're different for different reasons. 2009-10 was not Izzo's best team.
Don't coach my team.
But it was the weakest Final Four they may have ever been in. That Butler, that was not a great Duke team. Kyle Singler was like their star or whatever. That Butler team was good but not great. And if Kalen Lucas doesn't get hurt in that tournament, I think they do win a national title that year. 13-14, though, to me, is the one that, and that team at its best was the best team in the country, and they couldn't be at their best at the end. And I think that one probably is partly the answer. I know he is bothered by his own performance in 17-18 as a coach, the one that lost to Detroit and lost to Syracuse, because he thinks that team had a chance. And I don't think 18-19, I mean, Cassius was carrying so much. But this is a really good question. I don't know where it is. And certainly the other thing is if he had just won one more of these somewhere along the way, they had that 2014 title, or it happened in 2020, just the way he'd be viewed his career, not just among MSU fans, but just everywhere. I mean, I think he would be revered in a different way.
Right now, either you're stuttering or I'm not picking it up because it's a what. So
And you have to hold Izzo to one. He's got to pick just one. He can't give one of those answers where they're across.
Yeah,
the
no,
board.
it's what's the one you go, dang. Yeah, no, that's a really good question, Chris.
Ron Kixody. Are the Pistons officially out of the NBA purgatory after this draft?
Yes.
I guess, yeah.
Because purgatory is this place that the Knicks are trying to get into and be happy about it. It's weird. They keep trading guys, and they're hoping to get Jalen Brunson.
But they've been a mess forever.
Right, but what you never want to do is be the team that's ceiling is like the 5 seed in the East and getting into the second round of the playoffs, and that's who you can be. And now you've got a core of guys that's all you're able to do with, and you're going to have to tear it down. Like, that's the worst place to be.
If Troy Weaver did a master class on being a general manager, his first note would be, call the New York Knicks. That's the first thing you should do. Because they're the worst.
It is, yeah. And so you're not in purgatory when you have young pieces that it may or may not work out. But what the Pistons at least have now is young pieces with hope that they're going to develop into something. And you feel like you have stars, emerging stars, potential stars, and young players who are going to be really good players all on a roster, all on the same timeline. That's hard to do. I think they're certainly, they're not in purgatory. Purgatory is a state of being stuck, and the Pistons don't feel stuck.
Next one from Ron. Who impressed you the most at the opening night of Moneyball?
You know what the answer to this?
Jackson Kohler, and here's why.
No, I wouldn't, look, Moneyball is one of those...
You're a veteran.
Yeah, and it's I enjoy.
Who's the new guy that is it? Ryan.
Yeah,
he's like, oh my God, Graham, did you see that guy? You're like, right.
Let me tell you, man.
Let me just tell you, I've seen a lot of these.
Like,
relax.
I enjoy watching Drew Lauder put up tons of shots for the former LCC and Eastern Michigan.
I know who he is, but can you explain to the people who he is?
Yeah. He was a guy from from Jackson, played in Ann Arbor and in high school, and then went to Holy Cross, Eastern Michigan, and then last year played at Lansing Community College. Was putting up like 40 a game in a lot of games. Fantastic player. It'll be interesting to see where
you see
he
a lot
lands.
of yourself in his game.
I did say that. The problem for Trey Holloman, for example, is he's playing on that team with Lauder, and eventually Kay Felder is on that team too. Like, Holloman doesn't get the ball a ton to be the guy who's creating for other people. And he certainly looks like a guy who's I think he shows some flashes certainly. He's not on the right Moneyball team to really show out, I don't think. The guy to me who played briefly and again is Hogard, because he came in and just played really the second half, was hitting outside shots, was taking over that game. And again, it's Moneyball, and it's who you're playing, and it's all that stuff. But certainly if he showed something that he didn't have last year. Now, whether that's real and translate, I don't know. But I would say it was A.J. Hogard for me. And the thing about Jaden Akins that was interesting is Akins is a guy who understands. He's never played Moneyball, but looks like he understands it. He's going to have some alley-oop dunks that are fun. He's going to play within himself. He's going to let other guys do what they want to do. But weirdly, and I felt bad for Trey Holloman, because Akins was guarding him and actually playing defense. Like in Moneyball, usually one of the things that helps you is guys aren't all that dialed in defensively. And so if you're the one dude who happens to be checked by Jaden Akins who decides I'm actually going to check you, that sucks. That ruins the night a little bit.
JD up next. Was Thursday night the greatest sports night in Detroit since the Wings won the Cup in 2008? I mean, it has to be. It was the championship.
Yeah, I think winning the draft lottery a year ago, the night, but not the draft itself, but knowing you were getting.
Oh my God, we won the lottery!
And is there a Tigers moment in getting to the World Series? Probably before that, since 2008. You know what I mean? Like,
that was 2006 with Maglio. That was,
yeah, but wasn't then? What year did they? What was the last year they made it?
13.
Was it 13? Like,
but that wasn't. But they didn't win it all because you can't argue with winning a cup in 2008. That was
no. I'm not saying what he's saying is since 2008 was Thursday the greatest moment. So after 2008, is there what else has been better than Thursday night? And I would say, winning the pennant to get to the World Series, the hope of that moment is probably better.
Yeah, you're right. JD, which player will have a more impactful career at MSU, Matty Sissoko or Carson Cooper?
It's a really good question. I need
Cockburn?
to, yeah.
Need to do a deep dive?
Yeah. So
need some lats?
Here's the problem, is I've seen Sissoko a fair bit, and that hasn't always worked to his favor, and I've seen Cooper once, and not against Big Ten competition. And Sissoko didn't play the other night, but oh boy,
just fucking answer.
All right, my guess, if I had to say right now who has a more impactful career, like I think I'm gonna eat my shorts on this one.
Free Ubers.
Carson Cooper is the answer.
Shit.
Is that painful?
No, yeah, it was. JD over under on Steven Izzo made 3-pointers in his career. Well, we're at 0.
We
right?
set, what do we set that? We've done this
1.5.
before. 1.5 for his career. No, he's only got a year left. So if it's one season, he's never made one.
Or did we go half?
I think we go half.
That's right, we went half.
And I'd take the over.
What odds am I getting on the under?
Yeah, I think it's one of those where you don't do it on a half-point line and you're doing it at 1, and you might get a push, and then because that makes you think a little more.
Yeah,
he just hasn't hit one yet.
I would fade it if it's at 1.
Okay.
Give me a half. I'll take the under at a nice price.
Yeah.
Max Christians, greatest Spartan career: Denzel Valentine or Kalen Lucas?
Greatest Spartan career would be so they're different in this sense. I mean, Lucas is really good for a couple years. And the way things ended with Lucas weren't great. And Valentine obviously had the big senior year. Of course, he had the Middle Tennessee State game, which affects his In the rankings that I did, and some people think I have Lucas low, I have Valentine ahead of Lucas. So I'm going to go Denzel Valentine. I think that while Lucas was a Big Ten Player of the Year, Valentine was, in a lot of people's eyes, a National Player of the Year. And to me, that was that separates him a little bit. So give me Denzel Valentine. But I've the other thing about Lucas is most of the time he was playing at Michigan State, I was not covering the team. So to be fair to that, they're just understand that perspective.
What if you throw Carson Cooper in the mix? Now, who would you take?
Oh, Carson Cooper, without a doubt. Also, before we keep going, if you're thinking about fireworks, and this is a bad segue, usually I have a segue going, but I hadn't run into one that was really good. If you are thinking about fireworks for this July 4th, leading into July 4th this week, something to celebrate, be it our nation or be it you just like shooting off fireworks like Jason Nick does here.
Hate your neighbors.
But yeah, Pro Fireworks is our recommendation, is Jason's recommendation. It is Michigan's largest fireworks store. There are 14 throughout the state. That's Detroit, Lansing, Grand Rapids, Traverse City, and many more. Professional fireworks at great prices. They have in-store viewing of videos on the exact fireworks you're buying, knowledgeable and helpful staff that can help make sure you purchase exactly the type of firework you want. There's like a QR code. You scan it. It shows you what you're doing. Really helpful. And for a guy like me who just looks like the sparklers, they have those there too. So you can just get sparklers at profireworks.com and do all sorts.
Do you wear gloves when you hold on to sparklers? You go, ow, ow, ow.
No, the thing that my biggest memory growing up was sparklers, and we've done
you
sparklers.
Have memories from sparklers? Jesus. All right.
Well, it was my parents had just redone their kitchen floor, and we lit the sparklers on the stove, and some of the sparks went in and it was not one of my better. That is one of the things. They don't have videos of that, but don't do that, and they'll tell you that at Pro Fireworks. Go to profireworks.com for locations and hours.
Do you have to tell someone that, or just make sure your 5-year-old shithead doesn't do that?
Yeah, I was 12.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, wow.
Not great. Not a great time by.
All right.
Not a great effort by me.
Max Christians and Kirk Wisniewski and Bo McJunkins, all with his thought. What do we make of the Freep suing MSU? Why is the Freep chasing their tails and filing lawsuits to know about Mel Tucker's contract? Can the Free Press get a life? What a waste of money. How about that Dr. Anderson story behind a paywall, or how we let the Jeff Jackson joyriding in the AD's car story die?
I'm going to answer this, but we're going to take a quick break first. We'll do it on the other side. How's that for a tease?
That's impressive.
Couch in the Rue, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app.
Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. Get your Vegas on right now from your phone, tablet, or laptop. All the hottest slots and tables, plus sports betting featuring in-game wagering. Download the app at firekeeperscasino.com. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117.
Pro Fireworks is Michigan's largest firework retailer. 14 locations across the state to serve your pyrotechnic wants and needs. With 30 years of servicing the industry, Pro Fireworks is proud to call Michigan home. It's your time to be a pro. See video of the exact firework you are buying with in-store TVs. From fountains to grand finales, Pro Fireworks has it all. Check out profireworks.com.
Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Skymint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Skymint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Skymint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Skymint Cannabis. You'll love this place. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com. Trust matters, especially when it's your money. Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management work hard to build a relationship of trust by providing thoughtful, objective guidance and placing your interests first. Invest with knowledgeable financial advisors who are on your side. Call today and tell them you're a friend of the show for a no-cost, no-obligation consultation. 248-626-2000 and ask for Mark or Jay. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Skyman Premium Cannabis. And our Saturday morning show brought to you by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Play the games along with us, or just go to Firekeepers. Enjoy Dacey's Sportsbook. It's a really cool in-house sportsbook experience. That's near Battle Creek off I-94. I'm sure many of you know it. Okay, the question was, the Groovy Donut Twitter question before we went to break was what we basically think of the Detroit Free Press suing Michigan State for the details of the donations to Mel Tucker's contract. Right, that is the gist of it. And I read all the comments and people upset. It's what are Matt Ishbia getting and Steve St. Andre getting in return for, and what are the details for what they are giving to pay for not quite half, but more than a third of Mel Tucker's contract. The thing you have to understand, and a lot of the pushback is, where is this? Where was this on the Bo Schembechler stuff? Where is this on Michigan donors? And the Free Press has done more of that than you realize. Probably, you may not read it all, but they have gone after records for a lot of different things. The Free Press is also not a cheerleader. A lot of they're not part of the program. Their job is to help hold people accountable. And this is a public entity, a public university that is, and this is the point they make in the story, right? The legal counsel said, contracts with public bodies are the essence of public records. The public has a right to know what promises MSU has made in exchange for these gifts, and MSU and these alumni have publicly celebrated their generosity. There's nothing private about these agreements. MSU is arguing they're private. I don't think they are private, and I don't have a problem with them going after the records. They try to get the records through FOIA. They're not getting them. And I also understand from Michigan State's perspective, maybe they don't want everything, and they don't want to share everything that's been done. Not that it's nefarious. It's just they are trying to keep things private. But you're not
Is everything private then? Or is nothing private? I mean, which one is it?
Yeah. If you're Michigan State University, a taxpayer-funded university, mm-hmm. and your football coach, who is the highest paid employee in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean, these are not, and certainly the $95 million contract is something you have been very open about. This isn't, I don't.
Maybe you just want to tell the Free Press to kiss your ass. You know what I mean?
Maybe you will. Maybe you do. But
I'm saying as Michigan State,
Michigan State's going to lose this lawsuit, by the way. The Free Press is going to win this. I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
And the Free Press will get the records and they'll be out. Their job is not to champion. People are upset because they love what Mel Tucker's doing and they feel like this isn't part of the cause. The Free Press is not part of Michigan State's cause. It never is. There are a lot of people who are in sort of quasi-media roles who serve that role, who are championing Michigan State or championing Michigan, and they're fans and they're celebrating Mel Tucker, Tuck coming, and all this shit, right? And that's fine. Everybody, that's their role in things. But they're not. That's not really journalism. What the Free Press is doing is, the Free Press is a news organization, and I get why people don't love it. I get that the Free Press hasn't necessarily been entirely consistent on the way certain things have been covered at certain times. But they have gone after probably more records than you think of. I think one of the things that David Jesse, who wrote the story and tweeted it out, and then answered some of the tweets, he did point out in his responses some of the stories they've done. And so you cannot love it because everybody loves what Mel Tucker's doing. But
can I ask the Free Press why they have Carlos Monarez, who gets very little readership, why they still have him employed covering the Detroit Lions? Can I ask them that?
Well, you know how I feel. Like if I were running the ship there, I would not have him in the. I'm not saying I would get rid of him, but I would not have him in the role he is in. I don't think that's great. I don't agree with everything.
What role would he be good in?
I don't agree with everything they do.
Yeah.
But that said, this is not a situation where this is malicious towards Michigan State. This is a basic, fundamental thing that news organizations do. It's seek public records from public entities. Michigan State is a public entity, and
you need to sell newspapers and subscriptions.
And
a story like that would get that, right?
And so people are siding with Michigan State. Well, but that's not why the business side of this. I don't know that's why you do this, because people are mad. Some people are even saying they're canceling. I don't know how many people will actually cancel, but you're pissing off some of your readers when you do this. But your job ultimately is to hold power to account, and what these guys are getting for their generosity, like $4 billion a year combined.
But are people canceling because they don't think it's fair on both sides with the Dr. Anderson thing? Is that why they're canceling, or they just don't like Michigan State getting FOIA'd?
Some people, they don't like. It's not FOIA. I mean, this was a FOIA, and they had come out with the story, and Michigan State had responded to it with the information. There'd be no issue. They don't like Michigan State getting sued by the Free Press. It's the language, the idea that they're getting sued, the idea that the Free Press wants something. People love what's going on with Michigan State football right now. They love what's happening with Mel Tucker, and rightfully so. And so they're going to side with their program. I mean, this show exists. My job exists largely because of our somewhat perverted love for our alma mater and our athletic programs, right? It is what it is. You know, it's a fetish. And
what is there to hide, though? That's what I'm saying. What could come out?
That's what I'm saying. If you're Michigan State, it only adds to the intrigue that you decline it. Now, I think they lose this lawsuit. I think the records will ultimately come out. I think we'll know what they're getting, and I bet you it's not even anything bad. But it's
maybe it's Michigan State just going, yeah, no, we're not going to do it. Take us to court, and then they'll go, all right, here you go.
Here's my only other issue with it is Michigan State, I thought by now would have learned its lesson on fighting back on records, because a lot of what happened with ESPN was a response to Michigan State pushing back on certain things. This does not need to be a pushback. But maybe also, if you're Michigan State, you don't mind this because you've told Matt Ishbia and Steve St. Andre that you'll try to keep it private, and this is them just trying to keep it private, and if eventually it has to be public, then it does. But you're at least able to say, hey, we tried to keep this private for you.
That's a really good point about maybe you shouldn't be doing that after all of what you've been through. Wisniewski and Graham Carpenter. What free agents will the Pistons pursue now? Who do the Pistons get with their $44 million in cap space? Miles or Ayton? Great night for Detroit basketball.
Again, the reporting sounds like they're going to go after several veterans to sort of build around and good players, starter caliber players, but not a max deal type guy. And I'm good with that. Again, I want the sort of character and makeup to this team be determined by the development of young players. And I think you take away from that when you add a seasoned star who's not on the same timeline as these guys. And I also, again, I don't think that player is a sure thing that's out there right now. We talk about Miles Bridges or DeAndre Ayton, and both are probably going to be max players, and I don't know that either are max players. And I think that's the other thing, too. If one of those guys was like Joel Embiid, or
another player.
The flip side of that is, and James either brought this up to me or I think he brought it up in this show, some guys
we're dropping MFers
aren't max guys until you need them to be max guys, and the Warriors have found this out with some of their role players and with Andrew Wiggins specifically. Like, there's a guy making a lot of money. You think, boy, that guy's not a superstar, But they don't win the title without him, so it's worth it then.
But that's the way the NBA is going today. If you look at some other players' contracts, they're ridiculous.
But the Pistons also aren't there yet. There may be a point in the Pistons' development where they need to overpay for a role piece that's the difference between winning a title and not. They're just not there yet.
Yeah. Graham Carpenter, how many minutes will Jackson Kohler play this season? Let's overreact to last night's Moneyball. According to Graham, 40.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that because I don't think he'll start the season. I think it'll be Mady Sissoko starting. I think, what did I say? It was the game 8 in like Portland at some point. They'll put Kohler in the starting lineup in part because Sissoko picks up 2 fouls in the first 2 minutes, and they need to protect him from that. And the thing that I think Kohler, they're very different players, Sissoko and Kohler, and I think that's good. The question will be, based on the rest of the roster and lineups, what fits this team best. And that'll be something that Izzo's going to have to do well, too, is he's going to have to understand when certain lineups are on the floor, which guys play best with each other. But give me Jackson Kohler 21 minutes a game.
Holding you to that. Andrew Zawiza. I hear about the $1 million name, image, and likeness deals that the usual powers in football. MSU has the $500 a month for all players, but haven't heard of big deals. Would those type of offers be on the table for only big-time recruits at MSU? How do you sway a 5-star when you're up against that?
It's a fair question, because especially with Ryan Day saying it's going to cost about $13 million a year. But you're seeing some movement now at Michigan State. It is not just the player-led East Lansing NIL club. You're seeing some stuff like and there will be more of these. Brian Masalam, having his own, SDU, whatever.
Did you get a membership?
Clothing brand. No, but what I'm saying is they're creating a collective there, and he's tied into the money. And look, there's a reason that he was the guy who was the kind of the go-between between Matt Ishbia and the Michigan State administration. And so there will be money types who want this to happen in certain ways and want Michigan State to be competitive. I don't know what it will ultimately look like. I do not think Michigan State is going to have an issue hanging in there financially in this new world, especially as long as Mel Tucker's there. People want this badly right now. They lived through what they thought was a near miss with Nick Saban. They lived through a taste of it with D'Antonio, and they can feel it. And I think this is why there's backlash against the Freep. It's like, hey, fuck off. There's good things going. Don't mess with this, right? I get it. I get the emotion of it. And so I think the money will be there because there is money that cares in the MSU donor base.
And that's why Tucker did get paid, because of the Saban thing. You just don't want to let another guy get away and go somewhere and start another program. Right?
Yeah, no, that's
why you had to pay him.
Yeah, right. And maybe he's only Andrew Wiggins, but if that was a bad analogy. I was trying to. Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on.
Spartan 18770. Why are you tweeting at 4 a.m.? What the fuck?
So
sure as hell wasn't me.
Yeah, no. You got to write these columns sometime. Now, I think this was the Jackson Kohler column. I had, the Moneyball's at night, and a couple things to do right afterwards, and didn't start writing it till 11 p.m. or so, and the draft was going on, so I was distracted, and I needed to be up, so you guys had something to read in the morning. That happens a lot, actually, with things at night. That's part of the gig.
Is that your best writing time?
No, it used to be. I am much better, and I do this much more now, and you'll see things that go up at like 8:30 or 9 a.m., because even if I need 4 or 5 hours to write something that's a bigger piece, I'll get up at 4 a.m. and do it. But I'm better. But overnight football games, you can't do that because people are waiting for that stuff, and they wake up early to read it. And so
3 slow takes.
3 very slow takes. Yeah. So anyway, that's why I was up at 4 a.m.
Spartan, up next. Does D'Antonio's legacy change if he won the 2011 Big Ten championship game? Also, it's 3 a.m, and I'm drunk as fuck. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you, Spartan.
Appreciate you.
So it's, if he wins the 2011 championship game, things are just different, because that 2013 year isn't as special. Like 2011 becomes the pilgrimage to the Rose Bowl for the fan base, which isn't kind of the last great Rose Bowl. it would have changed things. I don't know if it would have changed his legacy, though, because even though he would have had another Big Ten championship if the other still happened, it's the way things ended. Like, I think his legacy is pretty damn secure in certain ways and pretty stuck in others because of the way it ended. So I don't know that winning early, if he had won something again late, that would have changed it. You know, if 2018 he had done something like that. But so I don't think so.
Sports Guy 1919. What's the most overrated and underrated summer activity? My overrated is going to the beach, sunburn galore. Underrated, twilight golfing night at sunset.
I'm with you with the twilight golf.
Well, that's rated.
Yeah.
And that's been tits forever. I mean, that's the greatest thing of all time, to get a nice little 9 in.
Every once in a while, you get a course that's got a few too many mosquitoes, and the sunset golf is a bit of a nightmare.
Just get some spray.
Yeah.
Good God. By the way, most overrated to me is getting around a pool and just laying around a pool for multiple hours. It happened in Mexico, and I was like, I have no interest in going down by a pool and laying there, occasionally getting in, getting out. You just sit there all day and you bake. You know what I love? I love air conditioning. I love being inside. I love watching TV. I like going out for a 30-minute spurt, work up a nice sweat, coming back in, and then just sitting in AC.
I'm with you. One of the things when in like Maui and places where they like bring you pineapple and I like places that wait on you and then they have like a covered canopy so you're not baking in the sun. So if you're going to be out there chilling, taking in the scenery, all that stuff, you're not just baking. I'm somebody.
Well,
who
not
bakes.
all of us are bougie like you. I mean, we have to kind of suffer sometimes and sit on a lawn chair that's been used since 1979 and get your own drinks. But I'm just saying, I've never understood why you have to sit around a pool for multiple hours.
The big thing I don't understand in the summer is how hot weather isn't also part of the cancellation process. So, for example, today I'm going to a wedding. I'm not officiating this wedding, but going to a wedding. And really had been looking forward to it for weeks because I like the people. It's outdoors at the English Inn there in Eaton Rapids. And but it's going to be 90 degrees. And I've got to wear nice enough clothes. Like, all of a sudden, it kind of sucks. Like, to me, if it rains, things move inside or they get canceled. To me, there should be a heat barometer for that too. Like, we're doing this whole wedding outside, but if it's above 85, it's the next weekend.
Are you in the wedding? Do you
I'm
have
not.
to wear? So you can wear comfortable clothes.
Yeah, but I can't wear short. 90 naked, I'm uncomfortable. Like, I don't even know what to. I mean, I can't wear anything great. I mean, that's the thing that sucks. The hot days that ruin something you were looking forward to.
It's better
sucks.
than snow.
Not true.
All day long. I would take this all day long. Dark Mantonio, whose decision to leave early for the NBA will be worst when it's all said and done, because another year of school would have made them vastly better and got them way more money. Max Christie, Deontay Davis, Marcus Taylor, or was Tolbert's decision to go to MSU and not go in the draft out of high school worst of all?
Yeah, and Tolbert got hurt, and then he was never the high riser he was supposed to be. And I don't know. That's a good question.
And was there a lot of NBA chatter that he would go?
There was some talk that he could just
lottery,
go,
right?
He would have been a first round pick. I think but let's deal with the other ones because Tolbert. I'm trying to remember all the circumstances. I was in college myself back then. But Max Christie, Deontay Davis, Marcus Taylor, if they had gone back. You know,
I'd say Marcus.
It's Taylor. Yeah. I mean, Taylor, because Taylor, I think the next year would have been a first-round pick. Now, I don't know whether he would have stuck in the league. I don't know how much different a player he would have been, but I think he would have got first-round money if he had come back. And his
stats in the Big Ten were unreal.
Were great. He led the Big Ten in scoring and assists. And that was part of the problem is he had this amazing February that then led him thinking he could, go be a pro. I think a year later.
Which is understandable.
True. And Deontay Davis, I mean, he got decent money. I hope he put some of it away. He definitely could have used another year. But I think it's Taylor.
Yeah, because of the way Christie, the way you can do it now, you can kind of be a project kind of player. You can't really blame a kid if he's going to get drafted.
I mean, if he gets a two-way deal, and I think he'll get more than that because he's the 35th overall pick. He's going to get several million guaranteed. But even if you're a two-way player, you're talking $500K, and that's not a bad deal.
Dark Mantonio. Knowing what we do about Harbaugh, James Franklin, Mel Tucker, and Ryan Day, in the current college football playoff and division structure, do you think the ceiling for Michigan, Penn State, and MSU is each school only once every 5 years or so beating Ohio State? winning the Big Ten, then getting blasted in the playoff, or is the ceiling different for each?
Yeah, so no, I it's a good question. I don't know that Ohio. I mean, it feels that way in a certain sense, but I don't know that there's a ceiling for any of these programs. There may be a ceiling with a certain coach that they have, but I don't know that we know what Michigan State's ceiling under Mel Tucker is. And can they truly get themselves where they're playing on a plane with Ohio State? You know, James Franklin keeps having these amazing recruiting classes, but then he kind of Franklins it during the season. I do think Michigan's ceiling with Harbaugh is lower than its ceiling potentially as a program. I think post Harbaugh, if they made the right hire, that Michigan could have a different type of outcome. So we'll see. I mean, I think Harbaugh's a good coach. I just don't think I think Michigan's also a program where you ought to be able to do more than he's done.
Mr. Ben Jen, the goal is maximizing MSU football wins. What is the best Big Ten realignment scheme? Back to legends and shitters, no divisions, other. If the goal is maximizing playoff appearances, does your answer change?
No, I don't think it does, because ultimately you're probably, if you win the Big Ten and are looking to, you're probably going to the playoff most years, most teams. And so I think those two things are absolutely aligned. But the best, you want to just be in the West, because even though Wisconsin and Iowa are good programs and Northwestern has years and all that, I mean, you want to get out of Ohio State's division. And I know and I don't know how you would do realignment that truly. I mean, you could obviously put the worst programs in the Big Ten in one realignment, and that would help you out in certain ways if you were trying to maximize wins. But Ohio State is not just one game. Ultimately, too, it can change the tone of the season. We saw in 2019, I think what it did, it just sort of demoralized MSU, and so I think if it was just one game, you'd say, well, it doesn't really matter when you have to play them. But I think it does, and I think it can also change the way the course of a season happens. You just want to be out of Ohio State's division to maximize anything.
Mr. Ben Jen, Rube, in your best Tom Brokaw voice, how would Eastlick describe how bloody hot his balls it has been? I do a Brokaw.
You don't do a Brokaw?
I don't think so.
You've seen the Saturday Night Live one, where Gerald Ford today died of that one. Gerald Ford.
Who's that supposed to be?
That's Brokaw. No. Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford.
Is that not good? We'll fix it in post.
People listen to this shit. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to work on that. Cucker Tarleson. How on earth did Max Christie not have to go the free agent route? Happy for him, but quite surprised. The potential, though, right?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a guy who a year ago was the top shooting guard prospect in the country, and I think he's a guy that...
I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but I can understand why an NBA team would want to take a risk.
Totally. I think that shot has a chance to still come around. It wasn't there last year like I thought it would be, like it was at times early, but I can completely understand why people think he is going to be an NBA player or has a chance to be a good NBA player for a long time. I don't know if it'll happen, but I can understand it.
Cucker Tarleson, if you two lived in medieval times, what would be your job and what would be your cause of death at 26 years old?
Love this question. What's your job if you're in medieval times?
See, so 26, that was like the life expectancy back then, right?
Or you just do something stupid that kills you, yeah.
Whatever venereal disease was probably prevalent in medieval times. Was there one?
I'm sure there were.
Do we know?
Things.
Was there like the clap in the back in the day? I mean, it would be something ridiculous that I would have died from. But I don't think I would have lasted to 26 years old.
What would your job been?
I don't know. What were the jobs in medieval times? I don't know.
Yeah, you've been the guy. I mean, I would have been
in charge of all the wenches. I mean, like what is the job requirements back in the day? I would be the guy that would start the campfires. I don't know.
I would have been certainly killed for saying something stupid that wound up with a beheading, without question.
Oh yeah.
At some point, I would have said something dumb.
Like, how boring is this shit, man? We have nothing to do.
And
wait till July. Imagine medieval times in July. You think the shows are going to be bad?
Yeah, and I don't know what I would have done. I feel like I would have been like some sort of
You would have been an ass.
high level servant that would have said something stupid and gotten his head
You'd
cut
have been
off.
in like a duel or something. And did they have those back then in medieval times?
Yeah, but I wouldn't even been in that because I was always having other people fight my fights for me growing up. So I don't know that it would have been that. I would have been, you know, sort of a couple degrees from Kevin Bacon, so to speak. I would have had a job that got me in the castle, that was like a decent servant level job, but said something out of line that offended somebody big and had my head cut off.
What in the fuck does that have to do with Kevin Bacon?
Well, because I would have been like not important, but I would have been had a job that was near important people.
It's
right?
Fascinating. Gideon up next.
I don't know what the fuck.
It's hot in here. Where do you think Max Christie slots in with the Lakers? Seems Skip Bayless is already hating on him, so that's probably a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, I think he
Why
slots.
do people pay attention to Skip Bayless, by the way?
Fuck that guy. I mean, it drives me nuts, people who are that. And now, don't get me wrong, he's built a career that somehow still works.
Yes,
so
we
respect
get it.
for that.
Yes, Matt Shepard's a nice guy and all that shit. If you can get the money and get paid for it, so be it. If you want to sell your soul.
Yeah, and I don't know that he does. I mean, I think he slots into the G League. You know, I think he slots in a guy that, and maybe he shows up in the summer league and in the preseason, he's hitting shots and he's developed to the point that, you know, he has a role on next year's Lakers team. I don't see it right now.
Hypothetically, he ends up making the roster next year and plays 9 minutes a game. What does that say about the MSU program and Tom Izzo? My column.
No, it just says that the guy developed in a natural. Well, it's fair.
You'd have to talk a little bit. We'd have to have a conversation.
We'll see what it looks like.
Gideon, what's the worst heat, humidity you've ever felt? Currently living through the muggiest summer of my life. Arizona.
Yeah.
Mesa, Arizona.
Not humidity down there, but it's heat.
It's just dry, like Vegas, that just takes your breath away.
Yeah, everywhere you are. Yeah, I've had a couple of those. I think Arizona for me, too, was getting out of the Uber to walk to the...
getting out of the what?
Free Ubers.
to walk to the press box at the Arizona State-Michigan State game. And I took baby steps. Baby steps for, 100 yards, trying desperately not to break a sweat before going in that air conditioning. It was like 100 degrees at 6 o'clock at night. It was just fucking ridiculous. I mean, Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair.
Al, who has a better NBA career, Max Christie or Amani Bates? Ayton or Brunson?
Well, you have to go Christie because he's been drafted. He's in the NBA, and we haven't seen if Bates is going to get there yet. Bates going to have to do something to become an NBA prospect again. Ayton or Brunson, I still think it's Ayton. Like, I like Brunson, but I don't. Ayton to me is like he's like a 7-footer with skill. Like, to me, that's
Brunson gets tainted because the Knicks are interested.
That's true
for me, to be honest with you. He might be a great player, but when the Knicks are interested, I'm like, with Ayton, I didn't want the Pistons to kind of pigeonhole themselves with a guy like that with that kind of a contract. I think they're maybe a year or two away for really being a competitor. So, Al, how many top 100 recruits yearly does Mel Tucker need to win a natty?
It's a good question because right now they're getting a lot of the 150 to 350 guys. So, like, the top 50 of the 5-star roughly and guys who are close to that. I think you can build a pretty damn good program doing 150 to 350 with 4 stars, but you need a couple guys who are just dudes. And I would say you probably need to have a couple a year. And so that you've got, and not all of them will work out, frankly, and some of the other guys will be better. But so you're talking about it at any given time, you've got about 4 of those dudes on your roster in playing key playing roles, maybe 5 of those guys. And because he said, one of the things Mel Tucker said I found really interesting before the spring is he said you got to have 3 true playmakers on both sides of the ball to get anywhere. And that was an interesting thing. I hadn't heard that before from a football coach. And that 3 real difference makers, and that speaks to that level of recruiting too.
Hangman Senor Riverboat Tubin is up next. Who are the second-year Big Ten basketball players, Jaden Akins aside, who will make a Johnny Davis, Jaden Ivey type jump next year? Thanks, guys. Couch, stay off the whiskey tonight. Or the Dragon Milks.
Yeah. It's a good question. I really have no idea because I didn't know Keegan Murray was going to do that, and I didn't know Johnny Davis was going to do that. It's a hard thing to know if you're not paying real close attention within a program. Is there somebody in Illinois' program right now? And
Cockburn.
It's hard for me to answer that. Just let me look at last year's all freshman Big Ten, and I'll tell you. Give me some Hoff. I should have pulled this up earlier.
Dominoes falling,
Cockburn.
right in the street. Baby, this time there's no retreat, there's no surrender. A devil is rising, a shadow from the past.
So when you look at the all freshman team, other than Chucky Hepburn, all of them left for the NBA, right? Brace McGowan's, Malachi Branham at Ohio State, who I really like a lot, Max Christie, and Diabate from Michigan. But I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know if there is that guy next year that I think Akins, and we talk about him because he makes some sense, and I'm sure some other teams have a guy like that who takes that jump. And usually, though, it happens from a guy who was a freshman and then becomes something as a sophomore. But it's a shitty answer. I'd fix it in post, but we don't really do that.
Professor, which MSU or Michigan hoops draftee or signee from this season has the best NBA career? And from Nate Breen, who will be the next MSU basketball draft pick?
So the next guy drafted for MSU is, you have to think it's either Hoggard or Akins. And, I think Hoggard is going to play himself into being a draft pick. I don't know to what degree. But so I would say A.J. Hoggard is the next guy.
I go with Malik Hall.
Really?
For
6
some
foot
reason.
7? You think he's
Yeah.
going to be an NBA guy? Yeah.
Yeah, just a gut feel.
Okay. So, but the first question, which MSU hoops draftee or signee from the season has the best NBA career? And so, are we talking? Okay, we're only talking. See, I misread this. That's why I put these two things together. So it's guys who are drafted or signed. Diabate to me is, I don't know. I like him a lot, and I'm surprised he wasn't a better NBA prospect out of Michigan. I think he's a guy who sticks in the league, and I think he could have value. I think he's got that quick twitch. I think he's athletic. I don't know. To me, he's a guy who's going to stick in the NBA and be a really good player for a long time. That would be my pick.
Nate Breen, your guess on a spread, assuming everyone is healthy, for MSU versus Ohio State and versus Michigan. I'm thinking OSU minus 16.5 and Michigan minus 6.5. What say you?
Ohio State will be less than that because it's at Michigan State. Michigan, that might be about right, and obviously we'll see where the seasons are at that point. But if you were to do it right now, what would you put the Ohio State spread at? Like, what do you think Vegas would do it?
I need to see a couple games first.
Yeah, but if you were to set it now, I think it would be 12.5, something in that range.
Yeah. Moulin Lobby Spartan.
And I do not think, I think that game's going to be incredibly intriguing against Ohio State, but I would not put any money on Michigan State. We've seen what's happened in recent years.
Moulin Lobby Spartan. Books have MSU winning the conference title at plus 2,500 to 2,800. Good value.
Yeah, it is good value. I think Michigan State's actually a good value pick in that sense because, again, we're only talking value here. And Ohio State skews everything in the Big Ten. And it doesn't take a lot. It takes an injury for Ohio State. It takes something going wrong. Michigan State could be really good this year. They might not be, but we're talking plus 2,500, plus 2,800. I think that's value. It's worth firing up the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app and
sprinkle
a little bit. Yeah, for sure. And the other thing that happens is if you're a Michigan State fan and that happens, and you also cash in by winning, like say you put $50 on that, and you win $1,400 at the end of the year too. That's great. And if you don't, that's okay. But you would feel bad in some ways if you didn't take advantage of that. You could have also had $1,400. I think it's worth it just for peace of mind.
Next from Molon. Peyton Thorne, good value at plus 200 for Heisman.
I think it's more than that. Plus 20,000 for Heisman.
20,000?
Yeah.
200 to 1, right?
So we're looking at 200 to 1? I thought it was more than that.
Either way, no. If Kenneth Walker can't get invited after the season he had, what would Peyton Thorne, do you think, have to do? Like, he and Jaden Reed would have to.
So here's the thing:
crazy numbers.
He's got to outduel C.J. Stroud and Ohio State in that game. That's what's the thing that gives him, again, when you're looking for value, and those are incredibly long odds. So you're just putting a few bucks on to win a fair amount. The only reason there's potential value in that is that he has a game early enough in the year that could put him on a radar, right, if it were to happen. Now, again, those are long odds. Nobody thinks that's going to happen. But he does get a head-to-head with Ohio State that people would pay attention to. And if he had a 400-yard, 5-touchdown game and they beat Ohio State, all of a sudden you're in the conversation. So it's not horrible value. Again, you're not putting a lot of money on it.
No, last one from Molon Lobby. Should presidential candidates have to compete a workout to show that they're fit? We shouldn't have to worry about bicycle assassinating our president.
I don't think you should have to work out. I just think, as we talked about earlier, you should have to be under 70. You should not be able to run for president if you're over 70.
Correct.
You can turn 70. You can turn 70 while you're in office, and maybe you can run for re-election. I don't know.
You could run for re-election for another
over
term.
70, but you cannot run for the first time as president over 70 years old. I would say would be a fair thing, and I would say the same thing for a Senate term, which is 6 years, and I don't know.
We can say for a podcast too.
We're getting up there. Yeah,
we're going to start falling over on a bike. Clint Bainey, can we get Chad Latz in studio to play acoustic Danger Zone? God, I hope so.
Heading into twilight, spreading out her wings tonight. She got you jumping off the deck and shoving into overdrive.
Wait for it.
Highway to the danger zone. I'll take you right into the danger zone.
Thank you. That's my favorite part.
Play a little Hoff next to it. Let's just see how Hoff compares, because I don't even remember Hoff in this one.
I just played Hoff. What are you talking about? What do you mean?
It's close. It's close. It's close, yeah.
Yeah, they're both great. Clint Bainey, who has one ball. What Spartan registers the first tackle of the season against Western Michigan?
Peyton Thorne on a stopping a pick six. No, actually, that wouldn't be good because a kickoff would have to happen first, right? Well, no, Peyton Thorne could happen the other way. Peyton Thorne stopping a pick six.
That's terrible. What a terrible pick.
But what I mean is, otherwise, I'm just randomly. So
you just picked against Michigan State, so you don't appear to be rooting for Michigan State.
No, I just did that because it could be any of 11 defenders. Like what? Do we, I mean, I love Clint, but that's a tough question.
Why does it have to be a pick six? I don't know what's happening.
He's preventing it. That's why the quarterback. He's preventing a pick six, so the quarterback makes the tackle. That's all I'm saying.
It's terrible. Clint Bainey, bigger dilemma: a bathing suit boner or a sweatpants boner? Jesus, dude. You got your Cialis going?
Yeah.
I mean, sweatpants boner, if you're in a strip club, I mean, that's why they kind of, they outlaw people to wear sweatpants in there. But a bathing suit boner, I mean, especially if
that's the worst. If you're out in a pool, a lot of
kids,
people.
Yeah, I mean, dude, just take your, can you go to the bathroom? Like, really, you're in a bathing suit getting a rod? Like, what's happening?
Yeah. You don't want that.
Go take care of that.
You don't want that. The bathing suit to me is the worst because I feel like the sweatpants you could try to hide it to some degree. But
how?
I don't know.
Both are weird, I guess.
The bathing suit is worse, depending because the settings are most likely worse.
Just pitching a tent, just showing up to the pool party, just showing everybody you're ready to party. Kevin from Rochester Hills. How many people give a shit about the NBA unless their team is in the NBA Finals?
I think a fair bit. I mean,
gamblers.
Well, not just that though. The NBA Finals are. I don't know if they care about the outcome, but people watch it. It does well ratings wise.
Yeah, and they space it out so long that you can catch a game here and there.
I mean, people like this group of Warriors to Steph Curry and all that. I mean, Steph Curry's a draw. I think there's more than you think.
Yeah, but I think it's more diehards, like guys like me that still they can't get away from the NBA because they still love it. But I mean, the Stanley Cup playoffs or this, I don't know. Kevin from Rochester Hills. Tater tots or French fries, hot tub or tiki bar on your deck.
So give me good French fries over tater tots.
Oh yeah. Hot tub.
Yeah.
Hot tub all day.
Like
tiki
if
bar.
A tiki bar, like if it came with a bartender and stacked, yeah.
Why would it come with a bartender? Are you buying people now? Yeah, I'll take that tiki bar. Who's coming to give me drinks?
I'd like a tiki
hot
bar
tub all day. Dude.
Would you?
It's
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I see hot tubs I like, but hot tubs are one of those things that I'm excited to get in, but after 15 minutes, you're like, I'm
Well,
ready to
yeah,
be
but
out.
that's the whole point. Like, my friend Jordan has one, and he stays in for hours. But, I mean, it's still, like, to get in there before you go to bed is amazing.
Okay.
Just saying.
I could go either way.
Couch on fire. People always seem to love to whisper to the media. At least they do here in D.C. So, was there any info on why Christie left MSU? Another even decent year would have likely put him in the middle of the first round.
He saw himself as a pro. I think and I don't think he was loving it at MSU. I don't think there's any secret to that. I think if he, when you look at Jaren Jackson Jr., for example, somebody who loved his time at MSU, who was tempted to stay, and he was a top 4 pick.
How tempted, though?
I think he was real tempted. I think he was. I think
there's no way Izzo would let him do it. But yeah,
no. And Izzo was one of the people who told him he had to go. But I don't think Christie was having that sort of experience. I don't, because here's a guy who, if he was having a great time, would have stayed. I think, and if he thought this was a place where you could next year he would be a star and he would enjoy it, then I don't understand why you wouldn't stay. So I think for him it was not only viewing himself as a pro, but I think he was just ready for a different experience.
Couch on fire. Who is your favorite Tiger of all time?
All time. Who's your favorite Tiger?
Oh man, that's tough. Ernie Harwell. I was always a big Whitaker Trammell, Al Kaline, even though I never really got to see him play. Verlander. I don't know. I could just name a bunch. It's tough to really pinpoint one. Dave Bergman, of course.
Yeah, of course. Milt Kyler, for sure. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, it's a good question because, like, growing up, they were so bad for so long. Like, Cecil Fielder was my guy when I was, like, 10, 11, 12, 13. Like, he was such a big deal at that time. Matt Noakes. I forgot about Matt Noakes.
Yeah, there's just that's why I collect baseball cards.
Yeah.
I get all those guys, and it's tough to pick just one.
And I liked Pudge a lot just because Pudge brought back.
He was the first one
Yes.
to come to Detroit and take because I remember it vividly because they gave him a $50 million contract. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
but that started bringing guys, free agents around.
Yeah, I think it was 4 years, $40 million. But it was still like
All right, technical Terry, I'm sorry.
But it was still one of those things you remember when it happened in the offseason. I remember where I was, because it was a big deal, and it felt like things were getting important. But yeah, to me, it's somebody when I was a kid, so it's probably Cecil.
Couch on fire. LPGA or new PGA? What's the new PGA?
It's just
they pay more money now.
Yeah. Give me the PGA.
Yeah. Tyrone Couch. Have either of you ever truly met Sean Scherer from 27 Sports?
24/7 Sports.
Yeah. I'm convinced he is a bot. Even Stephen Brooks won't answer the question. We need a Graham expose on what happened to the real person, if there ever was one. Pulitzer time.
Oh, there is a real Sean Scherer. I mean, you can
What
ask.
is going on here?
You can ask Dan Kilbridge, who was one of the people who had that job that Stephen Brooks has now, and Sean Scherer. There's some famous edits that have had to be made from the people in that job for the.
So Sean Scherer runs 24/7.
He does not. He is like a kind of a recruiting guy, so to speak. I don't know. He is a real dude. He's an absolute real dude.
What does that mean? I'm so intrigued now.
Yeah.
Even Stephen Brooks won't answer? Wow. Tyrone Couch. My mom gave my sister all of my child support money because I was adopted. She never made my donor pay child support because she was too proud. Should I forget to pay her hospital? Should I forget to pay her hospice one day? Or does that sound like she did the right thing?
Tyrone.
Now, wait a minute. If you forget to pay her hospice, what do they do?
Yeah, hospice.
Put her outside?
Right, they're not going to, yeah.
Come on, give us a payment. I was not ready for that. Tyrone Couch. MSU will land McVay, Kirkland, and Okunola because I have green goggles. After all that drama with Enow Etta, has he become the new Malik McDowell or even football's Amani Bates? I worry about him destroying chemistry. If he ends up on the team, will you trust the staff?
I mean, you have to with any of these guys. They know them better than other players, but you are recruiting the kid, and I think that's one of the things that as Mel Tucker gets more and more good players, you take fewer risks with guys who are risky to have it and change your culture. You do not want to mess with certain types of kids, and you got to be able to walk away from a kid and not. To me, if you offer a kid and a kid commits to you and signs to you, and you take that you give a kid a scholarship, you ought to be comfortable with who they are in your locker room. And at this point, there's nothing Mel Tucker's done not to trust his ability to do that. Because even last year, there were some guys, I think there were some questions about Crouch a little bit, and yet he's not going to be part of the program moving forward. So, but he was a guy who they seemed to have pretty decent chemistry on that team a year ago, and then when something went awry, they replaced him. They got rid of him. And so you have to be willing to do both those things. But you have to know the kid. There's no question, as you get better and better players, your ability to take fewer and fewer risks should grow. And I don't know where Michigan State is on that right now, though.
Paul E. Show, over-unders. Over-under MSU quarterback transfers in the fall, 0.5. You want to do these one by one here?
Okay. In the fall, number of transfers, 0.5. I would go over.
Over under 2023 depledges by signing day, 2.5.
I go over. I think that's just going to be the norm. And I don't think it'll be anything
And it's not
extreme.
a big deal, right?
Correct.
What would be the number that would make it kind of like,
Well, if you had a class you thought was like, 15 4-stars and 7 of them left, you're like, wait a second. What's that?
Okay. Over under MG's Jason consumes this weekend, 55.
How much Skyman you getting into?
Shit, 55. You need to add another digit. I mean, 55 will be tonight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's over. Hammer that.
And by the way, if you get into 55...
well, not at one time. I mean, is that if that's what Paul E.
But you said
asking.
tonight you're going to do 55? That's a lot.
Oh, shit, I'll get there.
Okay.
By the time I get home, do some yard work and stuff.
One of the best things to pair with Skyman is always, too, is Groovy Donuts. So if you think you're going to get into Skyman this weekend, swing by Groovy Donuts. Yesterday I go in, I wind up with a nice half dozen offered. Let's just say not all half dozen were there when I showed the selection to my sister and wife for their choices. But
I like donuts.
Yeah, and anyway, it's a great coupling with Skymint. Go to groovydonuts.com for location information and to place orders. But their locations are in Williamston and also on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing.
Next up is 2 and 3 in the Riley Green era. Does Matt Shepard sport a half chub every time he introduces Jack Morris as the Hall of Famer?
He does say it a lot. Yeah.
It's a tough gig.
It is.
He's a nice guy. But yeah. 2 and 3 in the Riley Green era.
Here's the thing is Shepard is not the best guy they've ever had at this. But there are worse. Like it is a hard gig to do.
Is that a compliment? Is that a compliment to Shepard, or?
I mean, yeah.
He's not. Listen, man, you're not the worst to ever do this.
No, but what I mean is there are a lot of broadcasters that you would be like, I'd rather have Shepard back. I don't.
Who?
I'm just saying.
I need names. You're right. 2 and 3 in the Riley Green era. Does Pause have snipers pointed at the Bally crew at all times in case something critical of the team is said? 1,000%.
It feels like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, Simo.
It's too much.
If you don't see Simo for a while, he had a thought that was negative.
And what they've got to understand is there's a way to have credibility and to have a little bit of criticism without being cruel and personal, and people will respect you more for it. And I just
get a player that doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to hammer these guys if they're going through a streak, but if they are playing poorly or making poor defensive plays in the field, say it.
Well, so here's the other problem they have right now is when you have somebody who's really, really good at this, and drives ratings, even if they say something that pisses people off, people are like, wow, that's all right. This guy's our guy. This guy's a star.
Yeah.
When you have people who are probably all replaceable, they're more nervous about that stuff working for the team. And that's, the other problem is it a play, the Bally's jobs are jobs where, the guys who are really, really good at this tend not to be in those regional markets
But Bally's is instructing those guys to say that. If Joe Buck comes in and he's going to tell Bally's to go fuck themselves, I'm going to do it my way. But I can understand if Bally's is going to pay you $500K a year to do Tiger games, you listen to what they say.
Yeah.
Last one from Riley Green era. Why don't you refer to me by my Twitter handle, which is Big Beaver 69?
It's nothing against your Twitter handle.
Well, dude, why aren't we doing Big Beaver 69 up next?
Because it's his name over it. Like if you change your name, I'm just grabbing the name usually. There are a couple people who are regulars, I'll recognize. Mullen Lobby Spartan, like he changes his name sometimes, but you can still see that as the handle, and so I put that in there.
Well,
people
now that
recognize
your
it.
attention is towards Big Beaver 69, we can change it.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying 2 and 3 in the Riley Green era. I mean, come on. Riemann Schneider, Jay Riemann Schneider. Are you going to attend Big Ten Media Days?
Likely. Not 100% sure. I am going to England with my wife like a week after that, and I am not going to be messing around with a positive COVID test. So hanging around.
COVID's still a thing?
It's enough to screw up a trip. Hanging around with a pack of reporters in Indiana doesn't sound wise. So, but it is my job, so we'll see. I will be there, or Ryan will be there. Somebody will be there.
They made us take COVID tests before we left Mexico, and if you tested positive, you had to stay for another 2 weeks. And so you went to the front desk, and they basically had them printed before you even like swab your nose. Because there's no way they're going to let you just sit there for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
For free.
Yeah, and so for me, it's like this, too. I mean, I promise.
You won't be able to go.
Well, yeah, and I promised this trip. So if I were to test positive for COVID, then I'm out for a while during football.
Like the house.
No, what I mean during football season, because we're taking the trip then in September. The trip is happening, and it wouldn't be great for me to miss all those football games and other things like that.
Jay Riemann Schneider, is either of your houses ever messy or dirty, or do you constantly live like you're in a pristine house on a TV show? No, ours is not pristine. It would, if T's sisters come into town, yes, or someone comes over, it gets cleaned up really, really well. But we don't live in filth by any means, but we're not tidy people.
Yeah, we live pretty tidy. I mean, my area has certainly become a little more messy.
You have a Roomba.
We have a Roomba.
You guys are tidy.
Yeah, no, although the Roomba describes the area near my recliner as a dirt event sometimes, which is interesting.
Just quits, it turns off.
But no, my wife keeps things pretty. She likes things a certain way, and I'd like to keep her happy, so we keep it pretty good.
Riemann Schneider, how important or what does winning the Learfield Directors Cup or Capital One Cup mean? University of Michigan men's sports are number 1 in directors and number 5 in Capital One.
Like, I think these are the Big Ten, right? And the national cups for like all sports. I mean, there's something you should aspire to. I think it's cool if you're able to do it. I don't think fans really give a shit, though, because ultimately they would rather win a single football game than win any of these cups that include most of the other sports.
Matt, this is a PSA for everyone. Do not get high and go on Whatnot and buy cards. Wish it was Sky Mint, but I live in Florida. You're welcome for the transition, Graham.
Yeah, no, I mean,
let me see what you got, Matt. Whatever Whatnot app is. Yeah, Sky Mint and eBay for me has been a killer, but I do get some really cool cards that show up in the mail, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
You forget about them.
Yeah,
that's kind of fun. It's a
daily
fun
autograph. I ordered the other time.
It's a fun surprise,
Yeah, but you know what? It's the great part about not having kids, because it's disposable income where you can be like,
yeah.
Matt, snotty kids will label soccer breaks as football. With that being said, is Jeremy Ngakia in whatever the fuck Jakia and Ben Foster anything decent?
I don't really understand the question here. I mean, obviously,
I think Matt's talking about cards again.
No. These are good players.
I understand, but he's talking about soccer cards, I believe.
Okay.
Or if maybe they're good players.
If you could redo this question and ask, give you a little more specific on what you're looking for on these, we'll answer it next week, Matt.
Hans Jurgens, do the best sports involve scrambling the brains of your opponent? Now that proves something.
So football. What else is it? Hockey.
Hockey, not as much.
Soccer,
body check.
Yeah,
soccer.
So a lot of head injuries in soccer. A lot of collisions as you go to head balls. Soccer has some real concussion issues for sure.
Hans Jurgens, WTF? Michael Penix is now with Washington. That game was supposed to be a cakewalk. Who did this?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what his career was, because I thought he was going to be a superstar at Indiana, and he can't stay healthy. I don't think Washington is going to be a cakewalk, because I don't think that defense will fall off that much, and you get the new coach bump. And I think that game is a little dangerous for MSU. If they take care of business against Washington, that'll be a really good sign for where the program is.
Hans, Notre Dame is academically recruiting my daughter, but not MSU. Where did my life go wrong? What's wrong with that?
Yeah,
Your
Notre
daughter's
Dame.
smart as shit.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, look, if Notre Dame wants your daughter and is recruiting her for what's likely academic scholarships and other things, well done.
Next one from Hans. Is it still possible to sell marijuana illegally in Michigan? Can anyone sell it? Can I grow it in my backyard and sell it to my neighbors in Michigan?
Yeah, you have to be licensed to do it.
I think you can grow like 6 plants.
To a certain degree, right? You can't.
Or if you get someone else's license, there's a whole rigmarole.
Put it this way: I know people who do it and aren't licensed.
Ooh,
So you
look
do
at Graham living on life on the edge.
You do what you need to do.
I will say this: I would rather go to SkyMint.
Yes,
and I'm not saying that because they're a sponsor. It's just I've looked into it and to see what it goes into growing your own stuff. No thanks.
SkyMint makes it easy on you.
Right. Hans Jurgens, what would have been worse, playing ice hockey naked or playing flag football naked?
Well, to me, it's ice hockey. You don't want the. I mean,
the skates, dude, chopping the.
Yeah. You don't want anything.
Gens.
Nothing with blades and a puck. I don't want that.
Flag football, you can at least hold the football in one arm and then cover your gens.
Yeah.
Hans Jurgen, please rank these from 1 to 3 in importance to your life: gambling, fucking, and donuts.
Appreciate you, Hans. What are the 3 in your life?
I got to say, I think he has it in order.
In order? Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like 43, and it's just like...
It's a lot of work.
Fucking? Yeah, it's just like... Sometimes it just seems like it's more of a hassle than it needs to be, and you can kind of take care of the kid and just go back to your gambling. I really love gambling. Donuts, I love donuts. I love groovy donuts. I love Monica and Andrew, but sometimes my type 1 beatus gets in the way of that, so that's why I would have that ring.
Yeah, these are tough. I mean, this is you're talking about what you love, Firekeepers, groovy donuts, or your wife, and I don't really know.
So you're saying those are in order to blink twice if you're.
Let's move on.
Jake Hawkins, are you going to write a column on Max Christie going to the Lakers at pick number 35?
Not planning on it because I don't think people want it.
Stay up till 4 in the morning.
Yeah,
Come on, just fire some shit out.
I mean, here's what I mean. To me, to my general audience, was far more interested in Jackson Kohler the day after the first Moneyball on the same night Max Christie's drafted. I mean, people generally, when people move on, when players are drafted, they lose some interest. And it's not that it's not interesting at all. It's not that I wouldn't do something on Max Christie. I would rather do more of a reporting-based column where I was able to chat with him for a while and write about the experience and give my take on it through that more than just I don't need a whole column to tell you what I think of it, and I'm able to do it here.
Jake Hawkins, how would you grade the Pistons draft? How close are they to being a serious playoff contenders in the East?
I would grade it as an A just based on draft night. I mean, we don't know what it'll be years from now.
Yeah.
Serious playoff contenders they're real young right now. I mean, they're going to be relying on 2 rookies, a couple third-year guys, a couple second-year guys.
Let's take the serious off it. Playoff contenders.
And I do think they will add veteran pieces to help them get there. I think next year they will be, and this is why this draft was so important, because I do believe that, and I was thinking they were going to try and sign somebody like Ayton or somebody, which would heighten the number of games you won too. But I do believe this was the last year they were going to get to draft this high. And so I think it was important to get somebody who is potentially a difference maker. I think they will be in the conversation for one of those top 10 spots next year. I do. I thought they would this year. I was off by a year. I think that's where they'll be next year. And whether they get there or not, I don't know. But I think they will be in playoff contention.
The Hawk, what are your thoughts about Kendrick Perkins as an NBA analyst?
He's blunt. He's honest. I like him. I got no issue with him. I like him.
I've never liked him. I mean, I think he does well on the show, but whatever. Hawkins, do you think the Pistons will be successful landing DeAndre Ayton, and would it be a good fit?
I don't think it's a good fit now. You've got 2 centers that you're...
It wasn't a good fit before. I didn't like it.
You could make the argument before. I don't think you can now.
Jerk guy, are the Pistons now contenders in the next 3 years?
So when he says contenders, he's talking title contention. How quickly do you get there? Like, you even look at the Warriors and their rise and
in the East, you can get there. Right?
You can. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Like, so you're saying Cade Cunningham year 4, Jaden Ivey year 3, Jalen Duren year 3, year 5. If you keep these guys together, and Sadiq Bey and those guys, and you've added some pieces, yes, that should be the hope. That should be the timeline hope.
Next one from the Jerk Guy. What's the jankiest thing you've ever done?
What is the jankiest thing you've ever done?
Like, what does that mean?
Janky just sort of like, I don't know. Janky would be
Like gambling wise, or do something stupid? Get tossed out of a bar by bouncers on my head.
just something that's
Eat a candle.
something that's like
on a dare and a bet.
I mean, the
Something
definition is of extremely poor, unreliable quality. Like you had a janky car. You had a
Jeez, I've had a lot of janky cars. I had one car. It was a '89 Cavalier, and I drove it till the brakes literally fell off, and I had to. As I was driving down Michigan Avenue, it's probably one of the top 5 worst feelings on the planet is putting your foot on the gas pedal and the car keeps going. Or excuse me, on the brake pedal.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're still going through the light by the bridge under Frandor. So yeah, I've had some janky cars.
That might be it. That is a story worth telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, and that's 402 South Washington Avenue. If you're looking for a place for Sunday brunch, date night, a beer after work, lunch with a colleague, go to midtownbrewing.net. Check out their menu and their drink selection. All right, next, Groovy Donuts.
Jerk Guy.
Yeah.
When will you be on the Can't Read, Can't Write Spartan Pod?
I don't know. Hopefully sometime soon. They offered me to come on a Sunday night. We do a show on Sunday nights most weeks, so that's not a great time. So we'll see.
They didn't know that.
What's
How
that?
dare they not know?
Well,
that
but it's just their that's just their schedule. We'll work something out. At some point, I would love to go on, and I like those guys.
And 69. Upper Deck Jerk Guy, what's your favorite Siende Doce? Sando Doce. SYNECDOCHE. Sineca Doce.
It's a figure of speech in which part is made to represent the whole or vice versa.
How do you say that?
I don't fucking know.
Exactly. That's why I hate your little giggles. Like, lastly, before we get out, dude, this is a 2-hour show. Holy shit, 2:20. Upper Deck Jerk Guy, how's the Yoda impression coming along?
Impression Yoda along coming. How'd that go?
Free Ubers.
Holy shit, let's get out of here.
Appreciate all of you.
Wow.
Appreciate your Twitter questions. Appreciate you for making our show and for listening for some reason. I'm telling you, we do appreciate it more than you'll ever know. And we appreciate all of those who help fund this show, including Skyman. Go to Skyman.com for location information and specials. Just a fantastic experience when you go in the Skyman store. Give it a shot. We appreciate Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. You'll love the app. Download it, play it with us, play within your own means. It's just a great sports betting app. We appreciate Groovy Donuts, and you know how I feel about Groovy Donuts. And I've got
donuts.
I've got one at home I'm going to go to right now. Go to groovydonuts.com to place your orders today. Thank you to Pro Fireworks as well and Midtown Brewing Company. We'll be back with a show probably Sunday night. Hot takes?
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. Couch on the Roof.